music.
There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Atta boy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when we run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it. Those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last.
There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
I mean, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? I mean, come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
look out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes, every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we're prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
Fine. Then let's race.
I feel actually revved up for it. I mean, I know last year's Kyalami event didn't quite provide like the overtakings, you know, the spectacular sort of overtaking venue for the season, but I think it felt more as a ball roller, if you know what I mean. So I think the drivers are happy to be racing in Kyalami again. We just hope to see the better racing we had done last time.
What music! There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it.
Attaboy. Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It is like it being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine low to the ground, extra big oil pan that'll cut the wind from underneath you. That'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm.
I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when we run so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
I think I've got it.
They could never have imagined it. Those pioneers.
Yeah, I think I've got it. For some reason, the microphone was set to none instead of my microphone.
A fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas.
I don't know why I haven't changed that, so.
Shake you like a bullet.
Somebody put
but
it in
it
your
looks
mind
like it's actually gained coming through
every
on it
time
now.
out, or you're a failure. Well, forget that.
Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never
if they're
get
not
into
classified,
the
they don't get
cars at all.
points.
None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
When we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna be perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last.
There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
Oh, hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were. But trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. You sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
You gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing is important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
That you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
So, there we go, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Apologies for that little bit of a sound issue on my end. Hopefully it's all sorted now, and you can actually hear me. Technology, right? Where would we be without it? Ugh. Anyway, Tom Cairns alongside me, Topher Smith today, and we're here at Kyalami. And Tom, this was the circuit that started it all off in the Grand Prix World Series. We were here for Season 1, the opening race, and we're now back again for Round 7. It's been a fascinating season so far, Tom. How excited are you for this one today?
Well, it proved to be the ball roller, didn't it, for last year, Topher? And I've got a feeling we could be in for another intriguing race here today. A crucial one in the battle for not only for the title, but also for promotion and relegation as well. And there are some teams out there who are in desperate need of a good result, who can actually come away with a really, really strong points finish.
So, as you mentioned, Tom, about promotion, a little reminder for you, for those of you who don't know, we have a promotion relegation system in place. This is the League 2 race, so we're going to have first the top 3 teams from that at the end of the season will be promoted up into League 1. And then with the League 1 races, at the end of the season, the bottom 3 teams will be relegated into League 2. It's all to play for, not just for the title, but also for the top 3. It's been fascinating so far, as we've already mentioned, Tom. But also fascinating, some of the driver changes that we've got coming into this event. One of the more high-profile ones, let's say, Tom, is at Leighton House. because Alexander Wurz, he's one of the top 10 in the championship, but Chris Cavney, the team boss at the team, he's taken a decision to think a bit more long term, and he reckons that Helio Castroneves is going to be a better prospect for him in the long run in getting into the top 3 in the championship.
It's an interesting choice, actually. I mean, this is Chris's second driver change of the season as well. He wants to make sure that the Leighton House squad do get into League One next season, and if he's going to do that, he needs to either make sacrifices or stick with what he's got. And he decided to take a gamble with Castroneves, which I was a little bit surprised about because I thought Wurz did a good enough job within the team. And so will that pay off for him, or could that really backfire him by the time we do get to Laguna Seca in a couple of months' time?
Well, Castroneves has already proven his worth in qualifying, which we will get on to in just a moment before we start the race. Next driver change we've got for you today. Ed Hunter at the Real team has taken a decision to drop Neil Jarni into the reserve role and bring on board Oliver Turvey, who will make his race debut in the Grand Prix World Series. And Tom, we were a little bit surprised about the Leighton House decision to swap Helio in for Alexander Wurz. This one not really as surprising, is it?
No, it's not, and I'm glad that Turvey's been given an opportunity. I think Neil Jarni's struggled, to be honest with you. I don't know whether it's the car, he's not liking how the engine runs, or he's not happy with the team. I don't know what it is. It hasn't worked out for him. So whilst I respect Ed Hunter's decision, Oliver Turvey's got to prove himself that he belongs in the Real car. We've seen what Mike Conway can do. Now can Oliver Turvey follow suit and push this team forward in the quest for promotion? We're not even halfway through the season yet, so Turvey's got enough time.
Oh, there's plenty of time to go in this season. There's still all to play for. There's plenty of time for drama, for lead changes, all sorts. This is so fascinating, this championship. That's why we love it. Just a couple more driver changes to go through with you, and both of those are with the Pacific team. It's a double driver change for Carter McCollman and his team. The first one of those, Roman Grosjean being dropped from his race drive, with Timo Glock coming back into a race seat. He started off the season with Pacific at Taupo, was dropped after the first race and replaced by Grosjean. Now he's back in again. And Tom, from my understanding of this one, this is effectively Carter McCollman evaluating his drivers as the season progresses.
Yeah, and Grosjean, let's not forget, Grosjean did win a race this season in Malaysia. You know, one of 11 race winners so far in the Grand Prix World Series in Season 2. Glock, who hasn't raced since the opening round in Taupo, he really needs to prove himself because his reliability record, or his racing record since the very first race of the Grand Prix World Series last year, has been wretched for him. I think he's retired out of 16 races competing in. He's only finished 5 of them. So he's got something to prove still, has Glock. Is the Grand Prix World Series still for him?
That is a very good question, Tom, and I don't have an honest answer for you on that one. We will just have to wait and see how the rest of his career within the Grand Prix World Series progresses. And on the other side of the Pacific garage, Tom, Daniel Kvyat has been dropped, and they've brought on board ex-Manor racer Brendan Hartley. And Tom, a couple of reasons why this is interesting, because Kvyat was touted as one of the pre-season favourites for the title, but really hasn't performed at all, so it's not completely surprising that Carter McCollman took the decision to drop him. But with Brendan Hartley coming on board, he still has a back of the grid penalty looming over him from his incident at a Sepang Grand Prix when he was racing for Manor. As the penalty is with the driver and not the team, Hartley's back on board in the Grand Prix World Series, and that penalty has now been applied with the Pacific team.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Kvyat and Hartley were teammates at Toro Rosso in the United States Grand Prix in 2017, I think that's correct. So, yeah, it's an interesting one, but I think for Kvyat, he's been disappointing for me. Yeah, and I think for Carter McCollman to give Hartley an opportunity to redeem himself after a really poor start to the season with Manor, given where he had finished last year. Hartley's got a point to prove. Kvyat, well, I don't know who's going to tout him, actually. I think he's got it. I just don't think he's in the right car to do it in.
Well, Hartley, starting from last today, he will have it all to do, and the only way that he can go is forward. It'll be fascinating to see how he gets on in the race today. Just before we head down to the grids and show you who's qualified where, let's take a quick look at the drivers' standings going into round 7. Alexander Rossi still leading the championship despite having not scored in the last 2 races. Just shows how strong the opening few rounds were for the American. Adrian Sutil, 5 points behind in the HRT. He's got a point to prove. 1 race victory this season already. He will want to add to that today. Marino Sato, since coming into the live team, has been really exceptional. 45 points and only a handful of the championship lead at the moment. Will Power, how great has he been coming into the Leighton House team in the last few races? A race winner already this season. He now lies 4th in the championship on 43 points. And Tom, these next four drivers here showing just how competitive this is. Callum Eilert, Roman Grosjean, Antonio Fuoco and Alexander Wurz all on 35 points each, although 2 of those drivers not racing today.
Yeah, it's a shame really, because I'm sure these drivers would love to be going for the League 2 title, but the nature of this league is to get promotion, and that's what the managers are wanting to do, because it's more important to get promotion via the team rather than it is for the driver getting promotion from where they finish in the standings. So it'll be interesting to see. So just looking further down, Lopez down in 9th place. He's been okay as Lopez, but it should have been achieving more than what he's done so far in the first 6 rounds. And Franchitti, what brilliant form he's had in the last few races. We never thought he'd be in 10th position given the pace we've seen from him in the first 3 or 4 rounds. But now he's coming on song, and all of a sudden he's a championship contender. He could even lead the championship by the end of today.
Oh, can you imagine if that happened for Dario Franchitti? 10th to 1st after 1 round. It would be absolutely fascinating to see that happen. And once again, just backing up how competitive this championship actually is. A quick look at the team standings before we get underway. The Life team still in the lead on 92 points, but they took a bit of a hit in their championship. Well, Leighton House 2 points behind in 2nd place. The LaRousse team, they took a 1-2 finish in the opening round of the season in Taupo. 86 points in total. They want to get back to proper heavy scoring again. HRT, the Spanish team, on 78 points ahead of Eurobrun in 55 points. 23-point gap there between 4th and 5th there between HRT and Eurobrun. And Tom, to me, it looks like those 4 teams at the top are going to be the ones fighting for 3 places in promotion.
Well, let's not discount the likes of Eurobrun, Modena or Kyalami just yet, because Kyalami, we know what they can do. They've produced some brilliant performances, but sometimes reliability hasn't yet been on their side. As we've already mentioned, we're not halfway through yet, so I think we need a couple more rounds, Topher, before we can really draw to conclusions as to who is in genuine contention for promotion.
You are absolutely right there, Tom. Still a long way to go. How about we get this round 7 underway in Kyalami, South African round of Season 2 of the Grand Prix World Series. Let's have a quick look of the grid before we get underway. And it is Antonio Fuoco on pole position in the life ahead of Alan McNish. A brilliant result there for the Scotsman in the Scuderia Coloni. Helio Castroneves and Will Power running line astern in a Leighton House Row 2. Castroneves 3rd on debut, fantastic for him. Marino Sato 5th ahead of Dario Franchitti. Will Stevens and Callum Eilert make up Row 4. Championship contender Adrian Sutil is on Row 5 alongside Jack Aitken. Very impressive in his debut last time out. He'll want to back that up with another points finish today. Jose Maria Lopez is in 11th alongside championship leader Alexander Rossi in 12th. Timo Glock on his return 13th on the grid with Marcus Winkelhock for the company on Row 7. Row 8, it's almost equal honours. 1,000th separates Sam Bird and Lucas Di Grassi on Row 8. Vincenzo Sospiri in the Andrea Moda ahead of Mike Conway in the Real. And then Martin Brundle on Row 10 alongside debutant Oliver Turvey. Perry McCarthy in the 2nd Coloni. There's one in 2nd, and there is the other one in 21st. Valentino Rossi there in 22nd. Cristiano D'Amata and Enrico Benoldi make up an all-fun Metal Row 12. And at the back, Scott Speed and the returning Brendan Hartley serving his back of the grid penalty. And Tony Fuoco there waiting to fly away from pole position again. He did a lights to flag victory already this season, Tom. Can he do it again?
I think he most definitely can do it. Fuoco's got it what it takes. McNish alongside him on the front row, his best qualifying in the Grand Prix World Series so far. Castroneves 3rd on debut. Can he make a blinder of a getaway?
We'll wait and see when the lights go out. We're getting ready for the League 2 race here at the Kyalami Grand Prix. Fuoco on the right, McNish on the left, waiting for the lights to go out. And it'll be 54 laps of action around this fascinating circuit. Watch out for Castroneves and Power, the fast Leighton Houses on the 2nd row. Can they do anything from there? And we are off and away in Kyalami. Fuoco leads away from Alan McNish. Will Power getting a better start than Helio Castroneves from 4th on the grid. He's trying to challenge already for the lead. And there's Dario Franchitti going up into 3rd place. Franchitti going from 6th to 3rd already. A fantastic start there for Scotland. Oh, I think that was at Winkelhock. those are definitely Eurobrunn, and we're looking at Marcus Winkelhock there, who I think has lost 2 tyres, I think I caught a glimpse of there. We'll have to see the replay, which we are getting now, Tom. But it looks like Winkelhock already out of this race.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see who ran into the back of him. Well, it's not Sandberg.
Bit of a punt there from behind.
Was it Suspiri who hit him?
It might have been Suspiri, you know. We're going to wait for another replay. Hopefully we can look backwards from there. But from what I caught of that brief glimpse, Tom, it looked like both of his rear tyres have already gone, leaving him with no power. And here we go. We're looking back from his rear wing to see who is behind him. And yes, that is Suspiri. Good call there, Tom. Vincenzo Sospiri ramming into the back of the Eurobrunn there. David Junt is not going to be at all happy with that, the team principal of the Eurobrunn team. And Winkelhock not even making 100 metres into this race.
So just riding on board with Suspiri. Yeah, I mean, that was not Winkelhock's fault. Could you call it a first lap of genuine racing incident there, even though the consequences were rather more dramatic?
Well, to me, it looked like Suspiri moved across towards Winkelhock. And don't forget, Tom, we have seen races in the past in this championship. I think it was in Chennai, was it, when Mika Salo caused someone to go out of the race and he was given a back of the grid penalty. So I imagine the stewards will definitely be looking at that, but they will need to decide, is that a first lap racing instance or is that entirely the fault of Vincenzo Sospiri? We'll leave that for the stewards to sort out. Meanwhile, at the front, Antonio Fuoco has built up a gap of half a second already. Alan McNish holding on to second place ahead of the fast-starting Dario Franchitti. A belter of a start from 6th up into 3rd for the HRT. Castro Neves down 2 positions into 5th, but behind Will Power, still a good running for the Leighton House team at the moment. Marino Sato in the second life is in 6th, ahead of Callum Eilot, Will Stevens, Jack Aiken and Jose Maria Lopez.
Jack Aiken doing another fine job so far for Force India, continuing his brilliant debut in Chennai last time out. We're just looking to see if Sato can get moved on. He's right behind the Leighton House of Castro Neves, who got a very poor start off the line. And one thing I've noticed, Topher, is that we're using a different mod of Kyalami to what we used to, what we previously used in Season 1.
Yes, absolutely correct. There are different versions that are available for the Grand Prix 2 engine. We decided to try out a different one, see if there'd be any better racing, as Dario Franchitti loses out to Will Power there. So Will Power, a new race winner this season, getting past the HRT into P3. He's making the most out of the power of that Leighton House. He's up in 3rd and now wants to chase down Alan McNish, as Castro Neves now also having a look at Dario Franchitti. Not quite able to get through this time. We've said it before in previous races, Tom, the speed that you have at the moment might dictate what fuel load that you're on. So Franchitti might have had a good start, but if he's already losing out on position here, maybe on a bit of a heavier fuel load.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Oliver Turvey doing it okay so far. He's in 18th position for real. Where did he qualify? He qualified 18th, so he's still in the same position as he was before. I thought we would see a move going on further behind, but no, it just seems to be the driver just trying to get out of the turbulent air momentarily. Yeah, I think we're starting to see a little bit more overtaken on this one so far, on this version of Kyalami to what we had previously.
And look at this, Will Power already up the back of Alan McNish. He wants to fight for P2 here. Antonio Fuoco is cleared off into the distance. There's a gap of 2.7 seconds already. Riding on board with our newcomer, Helio Castro Neves, taking over from Alexander Butz at the Leighton House team. And it's been a brilliant start to the campaign so far for Castro Neves, Tom. 3rd on the grid at his first attempt and out qualifying his more experienced teammate.
Well, at least he's still up there in the top 5, at least he's still running, unlike Winkelhock. But Winkelhock is having a miserable season so far. But back to a saying like Castro Neves, it's just whether he can start piling on the pressure on Franchitti, Power and Co. And let's not forget pit stops. How will that play out?
Well, we have 54 laps here today at Kyalami. It could be a one-stop race, it could be a two-stop race. We haven't yet seen who is going to be on what fuel load, but we will find out over the course of the race. It's always interesting strategically, isn't it, Thomas? We still see Will Stevens trying to get down the inside of Callum Eilot, and Eilot cuts him off there, almost taking off the Modernist front wing, but no damage there, thankfully. Here is Timo Glock, the returning driver at the Pacific team. Carter McCollum making the decision to bring him back into the Grand Prix World Series. Timo Glock qualified 13th and running 13th, so it's as you were there for the German. He's on the back of this train, only right behind our championship leader Alexander Rossi. It looks like it is the other LaRousse of Callum Eilot that is at the head of this train. Oh, there's a little bit of a lock-up there. We're not really sure who that was. It could have been Ilott, but someone getting it very wrong there. And Adrian Sutil off the track. And he is out of the race. We need to see what happened to the German here.
He came together with the Lewis of Alex Rossi, who was alongside.
Riding on board Sutil, and he might have been hit up the rear there. So he's got some damage and he is retiring out of this race. We might need to see the outboard camera of that. We're not really sure exactly who it was. We're getting another replay of it here. So Sutil in 11th position. It is Alexander Rossi behind him. Rossi down the inside and punts off Sutil into the gravel and into retirement. So Tom, surely that is a slam dunk penalty for our championship leader.
Yeah, and that's a bitter blow for Will Knight potentially there, because Rossi cannot afford to be missing races. I mean, I don't know how good his reserve driver is, but that's certainly not a pleasing sight, especially at this early of the race. Now that's 2 potential investigations that will need to be dealt with, and we're only 3 laps in this one.
So the reserve driver at the LaRousse team is Max Chilton, who's yet to make his debut in the Grand Prix World Series. The stewards will have to have a look at that and decide whether it is a 1-race ban or just a back of the grid penalty. Any updates of that, we will bring them to you soon enough. We're riding on board at the moment with Antonio Fuoco, 3.1 seconds. He is just clearing off, isn't he? And here is Will Power still behind Alan McNish. He hasn't been able to make a way through. And here is the other Scuderia Coloni. Craig McCarthy running in 19th position. He's got Brendan Hartley all over the back of him. So Hartley started 26th and last today. As up in front of him, I think that was Rossi trying to make a move. And there's been a collision there. It's on one of the Reals. I think that is Mike Conway. And Rossi getting into the back of him.
It's by Valentino Rossi who's hit the back of him. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so we get a replay of it here, trying to get down the inside. Conway has left him enough room, and looks like Rossi just understeers into the back of him. So it's not one Rossi in the wars, Tom, it's 2 Rossis.
Well, we thought Rossi would be synonymous with race victories. Well, most certainly not today. But yeah, it's been into a crash fest already for the drivers. They just do not know where to brake or slow down. I don't know if it's the updated mod for Kyalami, which is sort of influenced drivers to be a little bit more confident into the corners. And did Topher get hit there by the Fonmetal? It may well done.
He's getting very close to being punted for a second time here. Turvey just tried to make his way back into the pits with no rear wing there. He's always hit up the back by one of the Fonmetals. I think that might have been Cristiano Di Matta. There goes one of the Moderners, Will Stevens, I believe that is. And then the other Fonmetal of Enrique Bernaldi. It's all kicking off, isn't it, Tom? There's so much going on already, and we're only on lap 5 out of 54.
Yeah, and that's another incident that can't be ignored, really. So the stewards are going to be very, very busy after this race. And goodness gracious me, if this is anything to go by, what could happen in the League One, because this could have a say on like race bans or grid penalties or even worse than that. So the stewards are going to most certainly be busy, and you can see an overtake from what looks like Will Stevens on the inside of Cairns Ilott. I don't think he got the move done quite. He seems to be breathing him down all the time here as Stevens goes to the inside. Ilott leaves the door open. And it looks like he didn't quite make it through there, but he needs to watch his mirrors, does Stevens, because Aiken, Lopez, Rossi and possibly Glock are closing in behind.
So, Callum Ilott, he's forming a bit of a train behind him at the moment. He's running in 7th position. It's a bit of a Trulli train, which is now about to be dubbed the Ilott train, I should think. He's a bit of a cork in a bottle at the moment, isn't he, Tom? He's got a massive train of cars behind him. You can imagine that Ilott is probably on a heavier fuel load and just trying to defend for track position here.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Will Power, we're going to see he's still in 3rd place behind the Coloni of Alan McNish. And Perry McCarthy, who hasn't climbed up the order that high actually. McCarthy qualified 21st this time, is not even in the top 15 at the moment. So whilst McNish is doing brilliantly so far, Coloni, McCarthy on the budget. We've got an engine failure. That's the second HRT of Franchitti.
Yeah, so you can see it in the background there, and now on board with Marino Sato as he goes past the stricken HRT. Dario Franchitti retiring from the Kyalami Grand Prix. He was running really well up there in what was 5th position. He got from 6th to 3rd off the line, and it is now an engine problem for the HRT. And Tom, we've said it in previous races, I'm going to say it again. John Munro, he's put a lot of his budget into the power of the car, not so much into reliability as it now catches fire. He needs to get that off to the side of the circuit as soon as possible. But the lack of reliability development, Tom, coming back to bite him once again.
Now, he's got to be really careful here, Topher, because they're coming up to a very sharp left-hander where we've seen incidents on the previous laps. Will Franchitti get out of the way, or will he start causing mayhem from behind?
Well, he's let a couple of cars go already. He's staying off the racing line and now pulls off. So, at what I think is actually the same place as the retired Adrian Sutil, so maybe the HRT drivers can go and share a barbecue together on trackside with that burning HRT. So, sorry, German Roy, you put a lot of money into power, but not so much into reliability. That's what happens, I'm afraid. At the front, Antonio Fuoco, 3.6 seconds now over Alan McNish. He's really clearing off into the distance. There he is, our race leader. He's already done a lights to flag victory this season, trying to make a second one and get himself truly into championship contention today. Running now on lap 7, McNish is still in second, ahead of Will Power. He's dropped a little bit back from the Coloni actually. There's a gap of 1.2 between those two. Castro Neves keeping touch with his Leighton House teammate. Reno Sato putting both lives into the top 5. Callum Ilott still at the head of this train. And Tom, if you look on the graphic, Ilott's 11.4 behind the leader, and then there's less than 5 seconds down to 15th place.
So Ilott must be on a heavier fuel load than these guys. I'd be interested to also see what the pit window would be in terms of how much you need to complete an overcut or an undercut on the driver, so that's something to bear in mind for later on. Callum Ilott, can he keep hold of 6th place as they come towards Winfield Hill and then the West Bank?
So driving very defensively at the moment. He is doing a stellar job, to be fair. He's got track position and he's doing well to hold off the advances of Will Stevens and co behind him. Regarding the pit stop strategies, if you go for a 2-stop strategy today, Tom, you're looking anywhere between laps 11 and 16, I reckon, for your first stop. And then the second stop may be between laps 30 and 35. That is if you go onto a 2-stop strategy. For some people, possibly Callum Ilott's going onto a 1-stop strategy, which would be maybe around about lap 26, 27, around about that sort of time.
Maybe. And Ilott has now formed a 10-car queue, including himself in there, and I can only think that he's going to increase once Brendan Hartley and Aaron McCarthy closing on those, as well as Valentino Rossi.
So Brendan Hartley, who we currently ride on board with, brought into the Pacific team as a replacement for Daniel Kvyat, and starting in last place by virtue of the back of the grid penalty that he picked up in Sepang. Sam Hall, who was his boss at Manor, decided to drop Brendan Hartley before the penalty could actually be applied. A little bit sneaky there from Sam. But Brendan Hartley now back in with the Pacific team. He's taken that grid penalty, but he's actually doing really well, Tom. He's up there in 17th place from last on the grid. He's up 9 positions so far. So Brendan Hartley, he's got some speed in that car. Will Stevens down the inside of Callum Ilott. So Stevens finally gets through past the LaRousse. And how much is Will Stevens going to clear off into the distance now? He has cleared the LaRousse. He's got clear air ahead of him. This is going to be Will Stevens' chance to fully embed himself into a points paying position. Callum Ilott still holding up a whole train of cars behind him though.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time before Jack Aiken gets past in the Force India. And will the Leighton House drivers fight it out? Maybe not at this stage, but I wonder if team orders will come into play. Is Castro Neves the faster driver between himself and Will Power?
Well, these two very evenly matched, it has to be said, in their real-life counterparts in IndyCar, Tom. They're both very experienced, both champions, both Indy 500 winners. There's not really that much to choose between them, is there?
No, there isn't really. I mean, it is Castro Neves' first race, so I don't want to draw into conclusions as to whether the Grand Prix World Series is for him. Well, so far it is for him, it's just whether he can keep it that way. Now, further behind, Jack Aiken, 0.3 of a second off Ilott, so he must be very close to think about having a go at some point. There's Antonio Fuoco coming, just exiting the westbound corner, and that's a move from Brendan Hartley down the inside of Home Carthy. He didn't quite complete the move there. It looks as though he did, but he's going to have to wait a little bit longer.
We've had a double notification pop up from the race stewards here. Alexander Rossi and Adrian Sutil under investigation, and Valentino Rossi and Mike Conway under investigation. So they are looking at both of those incidents. They have not made a decision just yet, but I think it has to be said, Tom, between those two incidents, both having very similar outcomes. One driver punting into the back of the other and taking them out. So you would have thought, Tom, if one penalty is applied to one driver, then the same penalty should be applied to the other.
And the same penalty should be applied to Vincenzo Sospiri for the collision with Marcus Finkelhock at the start. I'm a bit surprised actually they didn't say that they were investigating that, so they'll need to review back on the footage and just look at it first and then come back with their own say, because if I was a team manager of the Eurobond team, I'd most certainly be complaining.
Well, it's a first lap incident, so maybe looking a little bit more leniently on that one. We will see if there is any notification of that one in the coming minutes. Here is the Leighton House duo, as we've already said, Will Power and Hilo Castroneves running line to stern here, right alongside each other. Castroneves looking very menacing at the moment. He might want to try and find a way past Will Power soon, as Enrique Bernoldi and Fomital hitting it a bit wrong there. Running down in 22nd position at the moment, Fomital...
you there. Castroneves is ahead of Power.
Oh, Will Power slowing down! So, we're just saying about Castroneves getting past Power soon. Well, he has done. This is by virtue of Will Power having a breakdown. We haven't seen yet what is the cause of that for the Leighton House, but Will Power, a race winner this season and running in third place, that's got to be absolutely gutting for the Leighton House team. Because, Tom, if it can happen to one of their drivers, it can happen to the other.
Yeah, and Team I got just running wide there. Just trying to remember the name of that corner actually. It's the third to last corner of the lap. I'm just getting it up now on the time of race. But just going back to saying about Will Power, that's a really bitter blow. Race winner last time out. It's not. Oh no, it was. Yeah, he was race winner last time out in Chennai, and out of the race after only 9 laps. That's a really bitter blow for Chris Cavani and for the Leighton House squad who are going for promotion this season.
And it has just been confirmed by race control that Sospiri and Finkelhock is indeed under investigation. So that's 3 incidents for them to look at already. We've only just got onto lap 11 here in the League 2 race at Kyalami. It's been really busy so far. Antonio Fuoco continues to lead 5.2 seconds now ahead of Alan McNish, who is running a fantastic race here at the moment, Tom. We didn't really give Alan McNish much hope in hell when we started off the season, but he's shown that he's lost none of his ability over the years. He's very successful in sports cars, did a season of Formula 1 for the Toyota team in 2002, now in the Grand Prix World Series, sort of showing everyone, Tom, age isn't a factor, is it?
No, it's not. If you're good enough, you're good enough. And so just looking at Castroneves, he is pretty much free now from his teammate who's out. He's got 3.3 seconds to hand over Sarte. So his next target is going to be Alan McNish in second place. Can Castroneves get a podium finish on debut, just like Will Power did in his first race in Yongam?
Well, that Leighton House car is certainly giving their drivers the ability to fight this season. Alexander Wurz, who was in the car from the start of the season, not a race winner, but he did get a podium, did get some consistent points finishes. But Chris Cavani, the team principal there, thinking more about the long game. His main aim for this season is to get promotion up to League 1 for Season 3. He thinks Castroneves is a better long-term prospect. So he's brought him on board, effectively forming Team IndyCar, Tom, because in reserve, they've also got Pato O'Ward, a recent race winner in the real-life world of IndyCar. So Chris going very American for his team, and so far, it's actually paying off for him.
Most certainly so. I just saw Jack Aiken closing right up to the gearbox of Kyalami, and could we see a similar move from Aiken as what Stevens did a few laps ago on the LaRousse driver?
Will Stevens, he's now got a gap of 2 seconds over Kyalami. So since clearing the LaRousse, he has pulled the gap out as we expected. Ilott, he must be on a one-stop strategy here. There is speed in that LaRousse and speed from Callum Ilott himself, so it must be a heavier fuel load. That's what I imagine. It's Bernoldi going very wide there, nearly running his Fonmetal off the circuit. He keeps it going though. So Jack Aiken, as you say, Tom, he's only 3/10 behind Callum Ilott at the moment, and surely he'll be wanting to get past as soon as possible and get off after Will Stevens in 5th position. Jack Aiken, he's been very impressive since he came on board. He made his debut in the last race for Force India in place of Alexander Zanardi. Just checking the notes here, Aiken finished 4th on debut, while Will Power won his first race last time out in Chennai. So Jack Aiken, he's showing just what speed there is in that Force India. They hadn't really got any results on. They hadn't even scored any points before last time out by having Alex Zanardi and just trying to remember who their other driver is. I've drawn a blank on that one.
It's Martin Brundle.
Martin Brundle, thank you very much.
Yeah, Al Ennis has been in the car as well, but they've been hearing rumours from Ed Spencer that he may be replacing Martin Brundle very, very soon. Now, whether it's after this one or the race after, I think considering the performance that Jack Aiken's getting out of this Force India car, I think that's prompting Ed Spencer to make another change, which would be his last one, I believe, because this is his 4th driver he's used. He can only be allowed up to 5 over the course of the season.
And we've got an engine blowout there. That is one of the Andrea Motors. It's Vincenzo Sospiri, who is one of our drivers under investigation, so there won't be any penalty applied for this race now that he's pulling off, so maybe a back of the grid penalty will be coming his way at the next race in Istanbul. So that is our 5th retirement of the race so far. Vincenzo Sospiri caught up in that instance with Marcus Winkelhock. Before even reaching the first corner, he is now off the circuit and out of the race.
Saw something large come off that Andrea motor there. I couldn't tell whether it was a wheel or something, maybe from the engine cover. But either way, he's pulled off the circuit, craned out, and that's one of the Andrea motors out of the race. Not been a good day for Lewis Bassendale's men. He's got a lot to think about, actually, because if either driver was to get a grid penalty, I think for the first lap incident, my say on that was to be a grid penalty for Sospiri, and for the one with Rossi hitting the back of, it was Mike Conway, wasn't it?
Mike Conway, yeah.
Yeah, so that could well be a grid penalty, but it wouldn't surprise me that proved to be a one-race ban or something, but we'll see.
I kind of feel as though because of the similarity of all of those incidents, if one penalty is applied to one driver, then it should be the same penalty to all of the others. We will wait and see what the stewards decide on that one. We caught a brief glimpse of Will Stevens there in the Modena, running in 5th position, getting a little bit locked up earlier on in the lap, but still able to continue. 5.5 seconds as Jack Aitken is into the pits. So the first of the front runners to come in for what I believe will be a scheduled pit stop as we start lap 15 here. The 14-year pulling into pits, and we will see where he drops out. Looks like he's going to be outside of the top 15. So Tom, with one driver coming in for their first pit stop, this is going to set off a domino effect for all of the others.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Aiken's pace is like and how far he was behind Eilert in comparison to where he was, how long he was behind compared to what he will be now on a fresh set of tyres. We need to see what the graphic says. If we just see Valentino Rossi, the only reason in place, that's not Jack Aitken, by the way, that's Martin Brundle who's trying to get past, but it won't be too long before Aitken is closer than on them.
So, lap 15 out of 54, there is your race leader, Antonio Fuoco, 6.3 seconds in the green now over Alan McNish in the Scuderia Coloni. Fuoco dominating proceedings here at the moment. Last time he was dominating like this, he went on to win the Grand Prix. He's now looking to make it a second victory of the season and of his career. Helio Castroneves running very well in 3rd place with a gap of 3.5 seconds over Marino Sato in the other live car. And Tom, we've spoken multiple times about the upgrades you can put onto these cars. You can go for either power or reliability. It's completely up to the team principals to choose what they want. And Andrew Sampson within the live team, he's put a lot of power into these cars. He's got the most powerful engine on the grid now, but also one of the least reliable. So Fuoco at the moment dominating this race, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's got the car to get to the end.
No, I'm just looking at Will Stevens, who's just come out of the pits behind Valentino Rossi. I believe he was around about 18 seconds off the race leader, so he was over the line saying 36 seconds, but that's not the representative time because he crossed over the line whilst he was in the pits. So we'll have a look at his first sector time and see how far he is behind, so I can work out the pit window in terms of how much time you do lose. I would say it's 23-24 seconds for a pit stop.
I think that's about what you would expect at a standard race circuit, around about 23, 24, 25 seconds. So the least time you can spend in the pit lane, the better. On some circuits, this one, not really so much of a penalty if you come through the pits. If you think of Long Beach, for example, Tom, very long pit lane there, as Helio Castroneves in for his first stop, and he is going on to a 2-stop strategy here, Tom.
Yeah, so he's going to go for the more aggressive strategy, which I don't blame him. You know, we know how aggressive he can be in IndyCar, so if he can showcase that in the Grand Prix World Series, that'll be very much delightful for him. Where is he going to feed back out? He's probably going to come out behind Brendan Hartley.
So we've just had word from race control, Tom. Alexander Rossi, Valentino Rossi and Vincenzo Sospiri all receive back of the grid penalties. So when we come to the next race at the Istanbul Grand Prix, all 3 of those drivers, they will be starting at the very back of the grids. So there is your penalties for those. Tom, do you feel as though that was the right decision by the stewards?
Yes, I think that was fair. Yeah, I definitely think it was fair. And we just saw that Castroneves got a very easy move there on Sam Bird. So we're seeing plenty of easy overtakes at the moment, Topher, and the amount of time you do lose in the pits is very much minimal. So doing a two-stop strategy may be the better way to go about it.
And here is Oliver Turvey. He was one of the victims of the incidents earlier on. Valentino Rossi going into him earlier on. The race control said it was Mike Conway earlier on. That's actually a mistake. It was Oliver Turvey who was involved in that incident. He is still running, and he will be happy to hear that Valentino Rossi has received the back of the grid penalty for the part of his instance. He'll still want to be there further up at the front, but at least there's some silver lining there as Helio Castroneves gets past Glock, and that's because Glock is into the pits from P7. So Timo Glock, his first race back at the Grand Prix World Series with the Pacific team, running quite well at the moment, Tom. He's running up there within the points paying positions, but will he be there at the end of the race? There's still a long way to go here as Martin Brundle down the inside of Enrique Benaldi as Cristiano D'Amata gets it all wrong at the final corner. Getting a few more pit stops here. We're with Perry McCarthy at the moment. He's also going on to what looks to be a two-stop strategy with 18 laps of fuel going on board there. But the absolute front runners, Fuoco, McNish, not pitted just yet.
So how long will it be before Froco gets onto the back of the back markers? So you can see that Rossi's exiting the pits in 20th position. He's running ahead of Conway there. Those are the last of the runners. So Froco is still quite some way behind those guys. McNish is
Alan
out.
McNish is out.
McNish is out.
What's happened to the Scotsman here? So running in a very credible second place. It's a gearbox issue for McNish. That is a real shame for the Scuderia Coloni team, recently taken over by Emma Dixon after Chris Buxton decided he wanted to move on from the Grand Prix World Series. Running in a very strong second position there, but it has come to naught for Alan McNish and the Scuderia Coloni team. They still have Freddie McCarthy running in this race, albeit out of the top 15. There he is actually. 19th position, down the inside of Enrique Benaldi. That is now 18th position there for McCarthy. But oh, what a shame for Alan McNish, Tom. He was having such a strong race there.
It's a really bitter blow for Gemma Dixon, that is. I think you said Emma, didn't you? It was actually Gemma Dixon who's in charge.
I think I said Gemma, I think. Sure.
I thought it was Emma. Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
Well, yeah, it's a bitter blow that for Coloni. They really needed a strong result today after that. And yeah, it's back to the drawing board, I'm afraid. We see Brendan Hartley coming into the pits for Pacific. And I think he's going to rejoin. Can he get out in front of Cristiano D'Amata? He's crucially can get track position. No, he's behind D'Amata, he's behind Conway, he's behind Scott Speed and his teammate Timo Glock.
So Hartley now on to fresher tyres. He will be going on to his two-stop strategy here today. And there is Timo Glock, trying to get down the inside of Scott Speed, but the American cutting him off there. The Pacific Knights run away through, although he's trying to get alongside now. Scott Speed once again cutting him off. He's driving very defensively here at the moment. So there is Rossi trying to do the same move on Benaldi there. And Antonio Fuoco into the pits now as Will Stevens makes a move past Lucas Di Grassi for 8th place. Our race leader Antonio Fuoco into the pits.
So where will Fuoco feedback out? His teammate Marina Salto takes the lead of the race. I think Fuoco's going to get out in front of Ilots actually as he's coming. Yes, he will do. So Fuoco in brilliant track position now in second.
This is going absolutely fantastically for Antonio Fuoco and the live team. He's only got his teammate Bruno Sato ahead of him, who's yet to pit. There he is, we ride on board with him. He'll be coming to pit anytime soon. Fuoco now with an 11.1 gap over Alexander Rossi, who I think himself is yet to pit as well. Castroneves up there in fourth position, now in third, past Alexander Rossi. So Castroneves now running a net second after McNish's demise from this Grand Prix. It's all changing around at the moment. Perry McCarthy now into pits out of P17 as well. Don't forget you can get in contact with us via the YouTube live chat. We've had quite a few comments already in this race. Emma Dixon, I got it right this time, Tom. She's watching along, the team principal of the Scuderia Coloni team. Not too happy with the fact that Alan McNish retired from the race, but says that at least it wasn't his fault. Well, mechanical issues are part of the game, Gemma. As Marino Sato comes into pits, and Turvey is out of the race on the main straight there. So what has happened there to our debutante? It is an engine blowout for the Real. So Oliver Turvey's debut in the Grand Prix World Series, lasting 19 laps. And that is a bitter blow for Turvey. It's been a bit of a baptism of fire, hasn't it, Tom? Quite literally in some ways, his car's on fire. He's already been punted by Valentino Rossi earlier on, and now pulling over to the side of the circuit with an engine blowout.
Yep, so Turvey out of his first race in the Grand Prix World Series. We saw Marino Salto coming into the pits from what was the lead. The lead he's handed back now to his teammate. Where will Salto feed back out? Because I can't imagine he'll get back out in front of Castro Neves. No, he won't. And Alex Rossi is in the pits now. Salto will want to get out. Oh no, he's had to let him by.
He had to wait there. That is, well, he hasn't lost out too much, only an additional second or two, so not the end of the world there for the Japanese driver. We'll see where he's come out and see what track position he's got. He's behind Jack Aiken at the moment, so it looks like he's out ahead of Callum Eilert. So that could have been a lot worse there for the life car, Marino Salto. Alexander Rossi out to the pit lane. Oh, that's getting very close there. And he just stays ahead of Jose Maria Lopez and Timo Glock. That could have been an airplane crash between those two, with Rossi coming out of the pits.
No, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the stewards looked at that, because Rossi did sort of move across into the path of Glock, and that resulted in Glock losing the position to Lopez. So if I was the stewards, I'd be looking at that, because that was a really dangerous piece of driving from Rossi.
I completely agree with you there, Tom. The stewards might well have a look at that. I know I would be if I was one of the stewards. Here is Antonio Fuoco, 9.5 seconds ahead of Hideo Castroneves. And here are the two Fonmatals, with D'Amata down the inside of Enrique Benoldi, and a change of positions there for what I believe is P18 and P19. Edward Hunter getting in touch via the YouTube live chat. He blames Rossi for damaging Turvey's engine. That's quite a claim to make. I mean, it's entirely possible such was the force of the hit onto Oliver Turvey's car, but I don't suppose there's any way to prove that, is there, Tom?
No. Well, can I just mention something? Jack Aiken was one of the first drivers to pit. He's now in P4.
An absolutely fantastic performance so far from Jack Aiken. Look at my notes here. He started in P10 to Jack Aiken. He's now up into 4th position. A fantastic run so far for the Anglo-Korean. Ed Spencer bringing him on board to the Force India team mid-season as a replacement for Alex Zanardi. That decision truly vindicated now, Tom.
Truly so, and well, Aiken's absolutely flying at the moment. What will Ed Spencer do about Brundle? Because Brundle's not making exactly the same amount of ground as what Aiken's doing. And will we be looking at another driver? We'll have to wait and see post either this race or the one next week, as Scott Speed loses a position to Sam Bird and Cody Carver there in 19th, and the sole surviving Coloni. Now, this is an opportunity, Topher, to compare the times. Now, we can imagine Froco is going to be much faster than everyone else. Castroneves 1 minute 14.4, so he's 1.1 seconds off Froco's pace. Stevens is a further 3/10 behind in 3rd. The next driver we'll see is Jack Aiken, who'll be on older tyres than a lot of the leaders, on 1 minute 15.2. Marino starts to be right behind him in 5th. Much fresher rubber. He's taking nearly 2 seconds out of his margin, actually.
So the two life cars running really well at the moment. The fastest and second fastest laps last time around. Fuoco absolutely flying at the moment out there in the lead. He has a gap of 11.4 seconds over Hideo Castroneves, who is doing a very fair job himself. His debut in the Grand Prix World Series, we ride on board with him now. 2nd position, having started 3rd on the grid. It's been fantastic so far for the Brazilian. Multiple Indy 500 winner, so successful over an IndyCar, now trying his hand at Formula 1 in the Grand Prix World Series. Chris Cavney, I think he'll be feeling very happy about his decision to bring him on board now. To be fair, Tom, it was a bit of a gamble to replace Alexander Wurz with Hideo Castroneves. So far paying off.
Most so, Castroneves locking up his yes to the last turn. There's Antonio Froco continuing to lead the way. Sunbird making up another place, going past the Force India of Martin Brundle, and now he's going to be going after his next man. That'll be Timo Glock, who's 7 seconds up the road. I'm sure that Berg can set some new fast laps to go after both the Pacifics of Glock and then Hartley.
There's a gap of 7.4 seconds between Glock and Bird at the moment. We'll keep an eye on that one to see how the gap progresses over the next few laps, waiting for Bird to cut the timing beam now. As he crosses the line, it is now It's less than that. It's now 6.5. I make that. Yeah, 6.5 seconds. So Bird, now that he's cleared Martin Brundle, setting off after Timo Glock and maybe later on a top 10 finish. Edward Hunter pointing out that the undercut works really well here. Well, look at the progress of Jack Aitken for one. He was the first of the front runners to come in for a pit stop. Now up there in 5th position, so pit strategy seems to be everything at the moment, Tom.
Most certainly so, and definitely more so than we saw in Season 1, where we saw most of the drivers doing one-stops. Over here, even though the race distance is 75% of what we had last year, it's still providing brilliant race strategy and some brilliant racing as well, just exactly what we want to see. We saw the LaRousse actually of what looks like Alex Rossi making a move on Mike Conway to take 7th place. Rossi, who's got already a grid drop in the next race, and then possibly another investigation hanging over him because of the way he exited the pits in front of Timo Glock.
So Alexander Rossi, he has a grid penalty for the next race for his part in the collision. I'm trying to remember which one it was with, because there's quite a few within a short space of time. I believe it's Adrian Suttil that he came to grief with, and Rossi getting a back of the grid penalty for that. He will have been informed of that over the team radio. I imagine now, Tom, he'll be driving a little bit angry, right? When it's Brendan Hartley trying to get down the inside of Jose Maria Lopez. And Hartley, while we're on board with him, Tom, currently running in 10th, having started last on the grid. This is a fantastic run. He was dropped by the Manor team for lack of results. Sam Hall not at all happy with how he's performing and took the decision to drop him out of the squad, not just into reserve role, but out of the squad completely. And now finding a new race seat with the Pacific team, Tom. Looks like he's found a new lease of life.
I'd like to think that too. As you can see, Jose Maria Lopez, is he making a move? Yes, he is. Brilliant move actually on Mike Conway. Now, has Conway got a problem? Because he's dropping back quite a bit, isn't he?
Ed Hunter would not be at all happy if that was the case. He's had one driver already drop out with an engine problem. Looks like Mike Conway is all right at the moment, just simply losing out of position to Jose Maria Lopez. So the Real team have been struggling a bit with their reliability this season. Multiple retirements. They want to get some more points on the board. There's no threat of relegation within League 2, but it's still pride to play for, isn't it, Tom?
No sense so, and points make prizes.
Oh, what's going on here with McCarthy? I wasn't sure if that was a blowout or what, but it looks like it was just a massive lock-up there from the Coloni. So it looks like he's about to be lapped by Cuoco. So McCarthy, he's not under any obligation to get out of the way, even though he does now. He's not obliged to get out of the way. We don't have blue flag rules here in the Grand Prix World Series. It's more of a gentleman's honour, isn't it, Tom, that if you got a faster car behind you, you get out of the way.
Yeah, which I'm not particularly fan of. You know, blue flags are there for a reason. You know, it's not just to allow leaders through. It's a safety thing as well. Particularly when you've got 2 or 3 year drivers racing alongside, and you've got a back marker in front of you who is needing to get out of the way. It can cause mayhem than people realise.
Ed Hunter saying that Conway is on old tyres, so that will account for why Conway losing out a bit to Jose Maria Lopez there. Conway, he will be due another pit stop, as will most of the field actually. Here is Will Stevens running in 3rd place. He's got Marino Sato behind him. We've cut away to Perry McCarthy at just the wrong time there. But Marino Sato is trying to find a way past Will Stevens into 3rd position. Stevens, he's been a bit quiet this race. He was stuck in the ILOT train earlier on, but since making a move on the LaRousse, he's just quietly gone about his business and is now running P3 as a result, as that is Perry McCarthy getting past what I think was Scott Speed. Here is Helio Castroneves, 2nd place, and Mike Conway holding off the advances of both the Pacifics there. Timo Glock has joined on to the back of this battle here. So Conway on the older tyres, as confirmed by the Real team, now fighting off Timo Glock and Brendan Hartley. He's going to have his work cut out from there if he wants to hold on to that 9th place as it stands in the moment. Here is Alexander Rossi, our championship leader, not having the greatest of weekends. He's running 7th at the moment and on for some points, but with that penalty looming over his head for his earlier coming together with Adrian Suttil. So Rossi, he was a fantastic starter to this season. Multiple points finishes, took podiums, easily building a lead in the championship, but Tom not scoring for the last 2 races. It's been a bit bittersweet in the last couple of races so far for Rossi.
It has, yeah, and I'm sure Will might be worried about him at the moment, but he's done a cracking job for the team this season with that victory in Yongam, not to forget Pilot's victory in the opening round. So both drivers are doing fine so far. I wouldn't say they're in the realms of being dropped. It's just, you know, nice off days for them. As Castroneves 16.3 seconds behind Froco. That's just how dominant Froco has been in this race.
Froco so far, he's been one of those drivers where if he's at the front, he can pull away and dominate, but if he's down into the field and fighting for positions, can't really quite get the results out of the car. So with the amount of power that the life car has on board, it seems like his best strategy is to put it onto pole and then just drive away from the pack.
Yeah, you can see a move from Sato down the inside of Stevens and up into third place. He goes into the corner of Westbank.
So Marino Sato into P3, both lives now on for podiums here. I'm trying to remember which race it was they took a 1-2 finish. It was at Fuji. Life having a perfect afternoon there. Pole position, fastest lap and a 1-2. It was a maximum 45 points for the team and for Andrew Sampson there. At the moment they're running first and third. Antonio Froco, he's already got the bonus point for pole position. Can he get the bonus point for fastest lap as well? We've still got quite a few laps to go. We're just over halfway through the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix. There is Marino Sato up into third place, passing Will Stevens earlier on. And here is Enrico Benaldi. Now let's talk about Fond Metal, Tom. Ewan Gale, he's not taking his championship at all seriously. He's just in it for a bit of a giggle, a bit of fun. Not getting any results to write home about. But at the end of the day, Tom, this championship's more about fun than anything else.
Well, that's the most important thing. We're not here to tussle. It's not about egos. It's not about pride. It's just about having a good old fun and games. You can see Castroneves backing up into Westbank there. Like, you can tell he's trying to push at the moment, but he's losing ground to Froco actually, because Froco did pit a lot later than Castroneves.
Castroneves coming up to the back of Scott Speed there. His American counterpart, he'll want to clear him as soon as possible. As we've said before, there isn't any obligation for the drivers to get out of the way. They do it of their own volition. Scott Speed a little bit in the way here, not exactly keen to get out of the way of the Leighton house. We're running on board with Speed now, and there goes Castroneves around the outside of him. So Castroneves, he clears the monitor, probably a bit later than he should have done. Scott Speed not making life easy there for the Brazilian, but he is now through, still in second place, 19.3 seconds off the lead. I think Castroneves, at the moment, his best hope is a second place finish, because Froco just that dominant at the moment. Here is Marino Sato, third position, 27.2 seconds off the lead and about 7.5 seconds behind Castroneves. Valentino Rossi.
It's snowing a little bit.
Sorry, Tom?
I thought he was slowing for a moment. I thought he was pulling to the side. No, he's okay at the moment. He is carrying him.
I think that might just be the Andrea Moda, but anyway, Valentino Rossi. Valentino Rossi running at the moment in 15th position. He will start the Istanbul Grand Prix from the back of the grid for his earlier coming together with Oliver Turvey. Valentino Rossi, he was an interesting addition to the Andrea Moda squad earlier on in the season. Lewis Bassendale deciding to take a punt on the MotoGP legend. And Rossi, he has scored points this season, but not really consistently been up there fighting for any worthy position. So it's definitely an interesting story to have Valentino Rossi in Formula 1, Tom. But if Lewis Bassendale's thinking about getting promotion into Season 3 or maybe looking more towards Season 4, surely he's got to think about maybe re-evaluating his choice. There's nothing against Valentino Rossi. He's a fine driver, just when you consider the whole package, Rossi's experience is not within single-seaters, and that's counting against him at the moment.
Yeah, well, it takes time sometimes for every team manager that comes in. Just looking at the life of Froco, just lapping Cristiano D'Amata. He goes up alongside, and that should see him through. Though D'Amata didn't quite make it exactly easy for him, but he gets out of the way nevertheless.
D'Amata's one of those drivers that I feel as though if he was in a better team, he could potentially be up there fighting for podiums and possibly victories. Because don't forget, Cristiano D'Amata is a Champ Car champion who's very successful over in stateside in a former version of IndyCar. Oh, Mike Conway under attack from Sam Bird there and cutting off his fellow Brits there. So Cristiano D'Amata, he is a fine driver, he just hasn't really got the car to be able to compete in the moment, with Ewan Gale not really putting any focus into the power of the car.
No, and it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, we've seen the reliability on the HRT with both drivers going out and running. Hartley carrying on there in 9th place. I was worried there if he had an issue or not, but no, it's okay. He's continuing brilliantly so far in the Pacific and not having too many problems. So he's ahead of his teammate Timo Glock. I have to say, what a drive it's been from 26th to 9th. We can't really complain with that. Carlton McCollum with how he's done. And he locked up into the last turn. Does he turn in? Yes, he does. Yeah, just about. But yeah, Hartley's done a good job. It has to be said.
So I wonder if Sam Hall's watching this and maybe thinking, did he make the right decision to drop Brendan Hartley? Because if you think back to season 1, Tom, when Brendan Hartley was at the Manatee, he did have a slow start to the season. He wasn't really getting that many results in the opening few races, but then come the second half of the season, he was reeling off victories and podiums and ended the season as vice champion. And one wonders that if Sam Hall had retained the same faith in Brendan Hartley, could he have maybe turned it around in a similar sort of fashion?
I think he would have done. I think Sam was just a bit too impatient with how Hartley was doing in the current season, not quite comparing to what he was last season, where it took him a little more time to get his season up and running. So yeah, it's a shame, but one person's loss is another's gain, and Carlton McCollum will be absolutely brilliant. He'll be privileged to have Brendan Hartley there because he's a very talented driver in this series. And I also saw Alex Rossi getting ahead of Jet Aiken for 6th place.
And we've got a bit of a battle here going on with Mike Conway and Sam Bird. Conway has passed Bird a lap or two ago, and they're now trying to get past the back marker of Enrico Benoldi. So Benoldi not really wanting to get in the way there, but maybe also getting a bit flustered with 2 cars coming at him there. But thankfully both Mike Conway and Lucas Di Grassi, it's not Sam Bird, it's Di Grassi, both of them navigating past the Fond Natal safely enough. Now Sam Bird, he got past Mike Conway a couple of laps ago, but now under attack from Lucas Di Grassi in the second Zach Speed. Mike Smith's team of Sam Bird and Lucas Di Grassi, 2 exceptional drivers on board, but just doesn't really have the speed at the moment to be able to fight right at the front. They're doing well for points at the moment, currently 9th in the standings, as Fuoco is in for his second pit stop. Now this is going to be crucial, Tom. This is going to be the last pit stop for the live team of this race, all being well. They need to get him out into good track position.
They do, and can you believe now, Topher, the top 13 have lapped Enrico Benoldi?
We've mentioned a few times that Ewan Gale's not really taking this too seriously. A lot of it is prize money. He actually puts into the reliability of the car. So his team does finish races, but as we've already seen in this race, Tom, they end up being a bit of a cork in the bottle for a lot of cars lapping them.
And you know, when I was saying about the pit window here in Kyalami, just looking at Fuoco's time as he comes into sector 1, it goes green. Now we're just waiting for Castroneves to go through, because Fuoco was 24 seconds when he came in. He's now 4 seconds ahead of Castroneves, so 20 seconds at least, or 21, is what you actually need here.
So a very short pit lane here in Kyalami, so a 2-stop, absolutely the right way to go here as you spend less time in the pit lane. And Sam Bird going in a little bit hot into that corner, but managing to hold on and keep the Zach Speed pointing in the right direction. I thought he was going to go wide for a moment there. So Sam Bird running in 11th position. Di Grassi has now passed Mike Conway for 12th position. Conway falling down away from the points playing positions. Ed Hunter not going to be happy with that. He's got 1 car out of the race and the other one going seemingly in the wrong direction. Harry McCarthy into the pits from P17. He's not going to be troubling the top 10 at any time soon. Here is Antonio Fuoco. He's made his second pit stop, 20 laps to go here in the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix. Marino Sato, the other life, into the pits on the following lap as well. Looking at his readout, he is indeed going to the end of the race. 22 laps of fuel on board. We're waiting to see how long this pit stop is going to be. Looks like he's clear behind him. 9.2 seconds. That's a good pit stop there for the live team. Their job is now done. It is now down to both of their drivers, Antonio Fuoco and Marino Sato, to get the job done and bring their cars home. Sato dropping behind Alexander Rossi. Again, this pit lane proving to be a little bit tricky for any drivers coming out of the pit lane. Sato out right ahead of Lopez, and I think that is a back marker Scott Speed, I believe that is in the Modena. And Sato very nearly coming to grief with Jose Maria Lopez as he came out of the pit lane. He's been able to get away with it. Sato now in P6 on fresher tyres and setting off after Alexander Rossi in P5. There is Helio Castroneves, 10.2 seconds off the lead of Antonio Fuoco. Castroneves still to make his second pit stop. Fuoco has made his, and seemingly now on the home run towards victory in the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix.
And Will Stevens is 1.5 seconds behind Ilott as well. That battle for potentially 4th place is going to go to the end, and to see what the tyre level is like for each of the drivers when they go on to their last stints. Castroneves needs a good few in-laps here. I think as it stands, Sartor would be ahead of him as Ilott pits from 3rd place.
So, Ilott, I'm trying to remember what fuel stops he's already done, Tom. I don't remember him coming in earlier on, so maybe this is the one-stop strategy from Ilott. You can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I think that might be his one and only pit stop.
No, I'm sure it's his second one, because I saw him come through earlier on. I may be wrong, probably have to look back on the footage.
Well, he comes out to the pits and he's got enough fuel on board to go to the end of the Grand Prix. He is in 8th place. So on for some points. He was our race winner at the opening Taupo Grand Prix, the first race of the season. Results have been a little bit harder to come by since then for Callum Ilott, but he's now on for at least 4 points should he retain 8th place. Helio Castroneves yet to make his second pit stop. He will surely be coming in soon. Here's Brendan Hartley down the inside of Jack Aitken. So Hartley's making fantastic progress here. He started last and he's up into 6th place. Hartley's having an absolutely fantastic race here. And Tom, it's almost as if he's got a point to prove here.
He does. He's still yet to make his second stop, so we'll need to see where Hartley comes out. But the good news, if Hartley's going on a longer second stint, he'll be on fresher tyres than all those around him. And given the amount of time you do lose in the pits, and the amount of time you can gain on track with fresher tyres, that will very much come in handy for him.
So, lap 37 out of 54 in the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix. Antonio Fuoco leads. Helio Castroneves second. Will Stevens third ahead of Marino Sarto. Alexander Rossi pits out of 5th place. That will be his final pit stop of the Grand Prix. Brendan Hartley now into pits, as well as Callum Ilott trying to make a move past Jack Aitken here. You can see there to the right, Brendan Hartley pulling into his pit box. But here is Callum Ilott right up the gearbox of Jack Aitken. These two young, hard chargers, both racing at Formula 2 level in real life, and Aitken pulling across the front of Callum Ilott there. He does not want to give up that position anytime soon. Here is your race leader, Antonio Fuoco. He has made his final pit stop. He is clear and he is en route to his second victory of the season. Still got a long way to go though, Tom.
He still does. He just needs to get the car to the end. He's 18 seconds clear of Castroneves. So Fuoco's already made his he's already made his final start. Yes, he has. So Fuoco's already made his final start. Now he just needs to get to the finish now, doesn't he?
Looking at the top 10, it's still filtering out a bit from pit stops, but it looks like Hartley, as Castroneves comes in, his pit stop, where's he going to? 19 laps. That will be to the end of the Grand Prix for Castroneves. But Brendan Hartley, I was about to mention, Tom, he's made his second pit stop, still in 10th position, so Hartley on course for points in his returning race into the Grand Prix World Series.
He is, and just I don't know who else is needing to come in. I can imagine Glock, Degrassi need to come in, so that could put Hartley up into 8th, which would be a great result for him come the end of the race. Stevens and Aitken are now in. Now
as is Timo Glock and Lucas Degrassi, so it's all go in the pit lane at the moment. Will Stevens coming out in P5 there ahead of Alexander Rossi. Aitken, Glock and Degrassi, we're waiting for them to vacate the pit lane and we will see where they are filtered back in. Brendan Hartley now up into 7th position as a result of all of that and on fresh tyres, so he will now make a run of it heading off after Alexander Rossi. And looking at it now, Aitken is in 9th, Degrassi's in 11th and Glock is in 12th. We have 9 cars on the lead lap. Such has been the dominance of, not this driver here, this is Marino Sarto of the other life, Antonio Fuoco. Only 9 drivers on the lead lap at the moment. Aitken, the last of the drivers, not yet being lapped. I mean, Fuoco's been so dominant today. There he is. I feel as though the only thing that can stop him at the moment, Tom, I don't want to say it, I don't want to jinx anything. And Will Stevens, he's just come in for a pit stop. He's now got a gearbox issue. So Will Stevens dropping out of 5th position and retirement for the Modena. That is a real shame. He was running so well in this race and on for a good haul of points. Will Stevens out of the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix.
That's a really big supply for Paul Tremlay, the boss of the Modena team. That's really disappointing. That's another Good haul of points lost there for Stevens. As you can see, Lucas Degrassi down the inside of Martin Brundle. Now Degrassi has just made a pit stop. Brundle's yet to come in for his last stop.
I was just wondering what Brundle's doing up there in 9th position. He must be coming into the pit soon. He's currently running in 10th position, having just dropped behind Lucas Degrassi. And we had the ILOT train earlier on, Tom. Now it seems to be the Brundle train. He's got Mike Conway, Timo Glock and Sam Bird behind him. Sam Bird having a bit of a look at Mike Conway there, but backing out of it. Is now Sam Bird down the inside of Timo Glock, is he? No, he's backed out of that one. But Martin Brundle always proving very difficult to get past in the moment. He needs to make another pit stop, but he wants to try and keep track position if he can. There is Mike Conway going down the inside of the 4C in India, and yes, he makes the move stick. Brundle down out of the points now into P11. Timo Glock and Sam Bird. Glock down the inside there. He makes the move stick this time. Just Sam Bird left to overtake Martin Brundle, and he will want to get past him as quickly as he can. He won't want to lose any time at all to Glock while he's already falling behind. As you can tell there, just visually by the gap, Sam Bird getting horribly held up there by Martin Brundle. For Brundle, he's not a lap down. He doesn't have to get out of the way.
And so Brundle chasing his first points since leaving the live team, would you believe it? So he's gone from being in the live squad to a Force India, and Brundle is desperate for a strong result. He's probably going to need to rely on a few cars ahead of him to drop out. Brendan Hartley up into 6th place now for the Pacific team. He's over 6 seconds behind Rossi. I'll keep an eye on the gap between those two, Topher, in case Hartley does end up chasing after him.
Well, Sam Bird has now got past Martin Brundle. As Brundle into the pits for his final stop. So Brundle gets out of the way, maybe a little bit late for some people. YouTube live chats. Motorsport Mike, Michael Gillespie, thank you for joining us. Wanting a quick recap of what's gone on. Well, where do we start on? What hasn't gone on in this race? Multiple incidents in the opening few laps. We had Marcus Fingelhock getting taken out even before reaching the first corner. He was hit up the back by Vincenzo Sospiri. Fingelhock retiring on the spot. Alexander Rossi then tried to make a move down the inside. So D'Amata is off. So it's a puncture for D'Amata, but as he goes across the gravel, catches it a bit awkwardly, and the wheel has now fallen off. So a puncture leading to a full-on wheel gone there for the Fonmetal. D'Amata becomes yet another retirement from this Grand Prix. Just quickly continuing with our recap. Vincenzo Sospiri taking out Marcus Fingelhock earlier on. Alexander Rossi tried to go down the inside of Adrian Suttel and ended up punting the HRT into the gravel and into retirement. And then Valentino Rossi also causing damage to Oliver Turvey, later resulting in his retirement. Penalties for all three. Alexander Rossi, Valentino Rossi and Vincenzo Sospiri will all start the Istanbul Grand Prix from the back of the grid. Our other retirements is a double retirement for the HRT team. Adrian Suttel, as I've already said, he was taken out earlier on by Alexander Rossi, and then Dario Franchitti having a mechanical issue. Will Power retiring out of what was second place at the time. He will go no further in the Kyalami Grand Prix. Vincenzo Sospiri, after taking out Marcus Fingelhock earlier on, then went into his own retirement with a mechanical issue. Alan McNish pulled out of second place with a gearbox issue. Oliver Turvey is engine blue. Will Stevens had a transmission issue. And Cristiano D'Amata has just retired with a puncture. Antonio Croco, 33.1 second lead now over to Marino Sato, who is in second place. It is a Life 1-2 now. Cash Nevers down into third place. Life is very dominant at the moment, isn't it, Tom?
Looking very, very dominant, and Life looking on course to extend their lead at the top of the team standings. They went into the round, just looking to get the standings up, pardon me a moment. The gap at the top was only 2 points between Life and Leighton House. As it stands, with Froco and Sato 1 and 2, which would get them 43 points. Froco qualifying on pole, so that's 44. Can't quite remember who's got the fastest lap. I would imagine it'd be Froco
I think it is Froco who's got the fastest lap at the moment.
So it's a clean sweep for the Live team, and for Leighton House would only get 15 points. So the gap would increase from 2 to 32.
So as it stands, it is going to be a second perfect score of the season for the Live team. Oh, Brundle's going for a spin there out of the final corner. So Martin Brundle, he's just come in for a fresh set of rubber, so maybe not quite getting the tyres up to temperature yet. He's done well to keep it out of the barrier there, but Martin Brundle, not really the sort of image he's going to want, especially with Ed Spencer potentially looking to replace him.
Yeah, well, at least he's still in the race anyway, Brundle. Yeah, that's not what you want to be seeing with a driver going around. But LaRue's getting, at the moment, 22 points. So the difference between 45 and 22 is 23. So that would see the points gap from Life to LaRue's increase from 6 to 29. So the gap would be 29 points between Life and second place LaRue's. So LaRue's would go up into second ahead of Leighton House.
Now, don't forget, after the next race in Istanbul, we will be having a young driver test. Oh, Valentino Rossi going wide there. He's just about kept hold of the Andrea Moda there. He's got Enrico Benoldi right behind him. Rossi running a P13 at the moment, so he's actually got a lap over that Fon Patel. But Rossi struggling a little bit to keep it going in the right direction there. So, as I was about to say, we have a young driver test following the Istanbul Grand Prix, which is basically an hour session for each league. They'll have 1 hour for League 2 and then 1 hour for League 1, where they will be able to run their reserve drivers and also bring on a completely new driver into the team. We've had a few entries already. We will confirm the entry list at the time. It's basically a chance, Tom. It's a chance for teams to try out their reserve driver in an official capacity and see if they can get any more speed out of the car. Also just taking a chance at someone new and just seeing, could this person also potentially do a good job. So it's going to be a fascinating old driver test just to see whether it could lead to any changes in the driver market later on.
Of course, and it's an opportunity to really test any drivers who have not done any experience in the Grand Prix World Series yet. For instance, I've got Christian Klein driving the Prost alongside Felipe Nasr, who's my reserve driver. That's allowing me to assess my options. And yeah, there's plenty of other drivers who have not had a go yet in these cars. So I wondered that maybe something for pre-season next season as well, Topher, to give people an opportunity to maybe evaluate their driving lineup going into season 3, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely. We will be introducing pre-season testing into season 3, which, as you quite rightly point out, Tom, is a chance for drivers to basically evaluate their different options and see who they want to put into the races for, well, at least the opening race of the season. For my team, the Super Aguri team, which currently runs in League 1, my reserve driver is Oliver Rowland, so he will be getting a run out at Istanbul and taking on board the young driver role for that test for Super Aguri will be Loic Duval, bringing him in for the Grand Prix World Series to try him out and see how he gets on. Or Mike Conway getting it very wrong there, still keeping it on the black stuff. Well held there, that man. So Antonio Fuoco, 33.5 seconds in the league, Tom. I don't want to jinx it, but only a reliability issue I think is going to stop him at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like he's got over half a minute in front of me. He could do a pit stop and still rejoin 13 seconds ahead of Salto.
Well, here is Sato running in P2. He's got Castroneves 2 seconds behind him. Sato dispatching the Brazilian earlier on, and he will now want to make it a life 1-2 for the second time this season. Castroneves in third. And then Callum Aylott and Alexander Rossi both still running well for the Roos team, 4th and 5th there. That's going to be a good haul of points there. That will be 22 points to 8. They're pushed towards League 1 for Season 3. Brendan Harley in 6th position, 11 seconds ahead of Jack Aitken. The last of the drivers still on the lead lap, as Lopez, de Grassi and Glock in the top 10, but all a lap down. And Fuoco, he's been so fast in this race. He's been almost unstoppable. It's not really surprising we've got so many drivers a lap down. The power out of that live car, I can't remember what the exact horsepower number is, Tom, but it's easily the most powerful car on the grid. But through upgrading the power of the car, the reliability is sure to play a part. But so far, Tom, they're still running 1-2. They're still in this race as we have 9 laps to go.
We do, and there's still time for it to change as the gap between Salto and Castroneves down to 1.7 seconds between those two. So Castroneves has got enough time to get the move done, but not much time.
So, 8 laps to go here in the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix. Fuoco leads ahead of Sato, Castroneves, Aylott, Rossi, Harley, Aitken, Lopez, de Grassi and Glock. We have had 9 retirements, if I remember correctly. Yes, 9 retirements. Marcus Winkelhock out within 100 metres of the start. Adrian Sutti and Dario Franchitti, a double retirement for the HRT team. Will Power, one side of the Leighton House squad, out of this race. Vincenzo Sospiri, Alan McNish, Oliver Turby, Will Stevens and Cristiano D'Amata all falling foul of their own issues here today. And that is Scott Speed. Scott Speed's been very disappointing so far in this race. He actually started off the season very strongly, didn't he, Tom? We thought maybe he could challenge for race victories and at least for podiums and maybe mount a title challenge, but I don't even know what position he's in at the moment, Tom. I know he's outside of the top 15, but Scott Speed hasn't really been living up to his name here today, has he?
No, he's currently in 16th place. I don't think he qualified that well either in the race. He qualified 25th. In fact, he was 1.2 seconds slower than the next driver ahead of him, and that was Enrique Benaldi.
I think he was having some issues in qualifying, which will not have helped matters at all for the Modena. Scott Speed, he is a better driver than that, we both know that. But just for some reason today, Tom, it's just not working out for him.
No, I want to go back to this battle though, Topher, between Sato and Castroneves. The gap down to 6/10 between those two. I think there could be a change of position here between these guys. This is crucial for the championship as well, because Leightonhouse needs to get as many points as possible, given that Will Power is already retired.
So Helio Castroneves getting right up to the back of Marino Sato. This is going to be an intriguing battle for P2 here. Castroneves, his first race in the Grand Prix World Series, he qualified in P3. Now trying to get up to P2 and bring home 18 points for the Leightonhouse outfit, which will surely see him see out the season with the British Alpha. He's right up the back of the life there. They're coming up to a back marker of Perry McCarthy there. He might well play a part in this battle if he holds up either of these drivers. We are about 7 laps from the end of this race, but we are by no means over yet, Tom.
No, and Castroneves, can he do it into West Bank? Here we go, look.
Oh, not quite doing anything this time. Castroneves trying to make the move stick, but not able to get through anytime soon. Getting right up to the back of Perry McCarthy. He's not getting out of the way just yet, but he doesn't have to. Castroneves, he wants to find a way through. He's really trying here. Just not able to do it. Maybe just biding his time a little bit. Just trying to make the best of an opportunistic move. If Sato gets held up by the Coloni here, they're both right on the back of McCarthy now. Sato going down past McCarthy, and Castroneves does follow through. Oh, McCarthy slotting in between them, but then getting out of the way again. So McCarthy not making life easy there for Castroneves. Motorsport Michael Gillespie asking, when did Helio drive a Formula 1 car? And the reason why he asked that is because of our eligibility criteria. Any driver who races in the Grand Prix World Series must have driven a Formula 1 car in an official capacity, whether that be in a Grand Prix, in a free practice session, in a young driver test, or in an officially organised test with the possible intent of giving them a race seat. Helio Castroneves, he was given a proper test by Toyota in 2002. That makes him eligible for the Grand Prix World Series. Many of these drivers who are here today, they will have raced in Formula 1 or done a lot of testing in Formula 1. Antonio Fuoco, he's a test driver with the Ferrari team, so he is eligible, having clocked many laps there for the Scuderia. Marino Sato, he's tested for AlphaTauri, so he is eligible because of that. Helio Castroneves, as we said, tested for Toyota back in 2002. Callum Ilott, who he tested for? He's tested for Ferrari, I think he's tested for Haas and for Alfa Romeo, I think. Is that correct, Tom?
Yes, he most recently tested for Alfa Romeo, did the post-race test in Bahrain for Ferrari, and I'm sure he's done a test of some sort with Haas, but I can't quite remember. Can I go back to the action, Topher, because I'm just looking at the gaps between Rossi and Hartley in the battle for 5th place. You know when I was saying 6.3 seconds out 10 laps ago? It's now down to 1.6.
Oh, it's getting very close. Hartley trying to get up into P5 now, trying to get up to the back of the championship leader, Rossi, running in P5. He will want to get as many points on the board as he can. He hasn't scored for a couple of races, so he will be desperate to get back to point scoring ways. With Hartley right up his gearbox anytime soon, life is going to be made very difficult soon for the American. Castroneves still right on the back of Sato. He can't find a way through just yet. This has been a fascinating battle here. Castroneves looks to be the faster driver of the two at this point in the race, with Sato driving very defensively and very well, it must be said. Here is Antonio Fuoco, our race leader, 34.0 seconds in the lead, looking like he is on course for his second victory of the season. He is untroubled at the moment, and all he needs to do is just bring the car home, make sure he crosses the line first and bring home at least 26 points with the pole position bonus if he gets a fastest lap as well. It'll be 27 points there for the Italian. Looking again at Marino Sato, they're coming up to the back of Enrique Benoldi, who's been a little bit of a problem for traffic here today, but hopefully will play no part in this battle here. We want this to be a straight fight for P2 between Marino Sato and Helio Castroneves. This has been fascinating between those two. And Benoldi, he's not getting out of the way just yet. He's making life very difficult here for these two. Castroneves not quite close enough there to make a move, as we now ride on board with Antonio Fuoco. He's going slowly. Fuoco, he's pulling off to the side of the circuit. It's a suspension failure. Oh my goodness, he's absolutely dominated this Grand Prix. And he's pulling off at the same site as Alan McNish, where he retired earlier on. But I can't believe it, Tom. Fuoco has been lights to flag and looks set for another dominant victory this season. But Tom, help me out. I don't know what to say about that.
Heartbreaking, but that promotes Sato and Castroneves to first and second, and we've got a battle for the lead right to the end.
The fight for second place that has been raging on for the last few laps now becomes the fight for the race win. Sato now leads ahead of Helio Castroneves. Aylot is going to inherit third. Alexander Rossi is going to inherit fourth. And, Andrew Sampson, he says it all in the YouTube live chat, just going, no! And, Andrew, I feel your pain. I'm so sorry, mate. I can't feel more sorry for you for that one. It looked like Fuoco was set for pole position, fastest lap, and the win here today. It's absolutely gutting for the Life team, but they still could get a victory out of this. Here is the new fight for the victory now, Tom. Sato versus Castroneves.
Yeah, and Aylot up to third now, Rossi fourth, Brendan Hartley fifth, and he's 7/10 of a second behind him.
I'm lost for words at the moment, Tom. So we've still got 2.5 laps left to go.
Move here, Topher.
So Castroneves trying to get right back. He will now know that this is for race victory here today. Can Castroneves take it first time out? Both of these drivers, they haven't won a race yet in the Grand Prix World Series, so this is everything to play for between these two. Will it be Marino Sato taking his first Grand Prix World Series victory, or will it be Helio Castroneves taking his first Grand Prix World Series victory, but on debut? We're about to start what will be the third to last lap. We're about to start the penultimate lap. We're about to start... No, I'm getting confused now. I'm trying to think too much here. What's going on? There's so much action. So, we are on lap 53 out of 54. It is a penultimate lap. I'm trying to wrap my head around everything that's going on in this race. It's been so eventful. This is your fight for the victory. Helio Castroneves right up the back of Marino Sato. Sato, he's already defended from Castroneves for the last few laps. As Castroneves, is he going to go down the inside here? He's going to make the move. And yes, he does! Castroneves into the lead of the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix. He started third on the grid. He's been pushing all the way. And he has pressured Marino Sato and got through. Helio Castroneves is now on course to win on debut.
And we've got Brendan Hartley in the pits as well. Not sure what's happened. What a move from Castroneves. Down the inside into the right-hander. Just trying to remember what the name of that corner is as well, because that's a brilliant, lovely right-hander.
We've got so much to think about in this race. There's been so much going on. I've forgotten driver names and so much going on in this race. And don't forget, Tom, we still have League 1 to come after this.
We do. Brendan Hartley is rejoined in 9th place behind Block, so Hartley's still in the points-paying position. Could have been so much more for him though, but that promotes Jack Aiken in the Force India up into 5th.
And there is Brendan Hartley. He's on fresher tyres and straight down the inside Glock. Timo Glock not really making life difficult there for his teammate Hartley. His return to the series, he looks like he's going to be on course for 8th place, maybe even 7th, because he's actually not that far behind the Grassi. And on fresher tyres can maybe make this work.
Because we're now on the last lap. There's Marino Sato, who's just been overtaken by Castroneves. I mean, what a brilliant drive from Castroneves, because he didn't get off to the best of starts, did he? Topher, but I think he went down to 5th place at the beginning, but just fought his way back up. Yes, he had some fortune on his side with Broco's retirement, but it's part of racing sometimes. But boy, I think he'll be the first driver to win on debut since... who are we talking? I mean, it's Callum Aylott, really, isn't it?
I think you are correct there. Yes, Callum Aylott in the season opening Taupo Grand Prix. But Helio Castroneves, what a race he has driven. As you say, Tom, he fell down from 3rd to 5th off the line earlier on, but he got his head down. made his experience of IndyCar work and just bided his time. And with only a couple laps to go, he made the pounce for the race win. And Sato, he has no answer. He's fallen back behind the Leighton house. Castroneves is now unchallenged. It's 2.1 seconds already. That was the speed that Castroneves had over Sato. But now coming through the final corner, what a fantastic drive this has been on debut for Helio Castroneves. He comes out of final corner. Helio Castroneves wins on debut and wins the League 2 Kyalami Grand Prix. What about that, Tom? Castroneves is... it was a slightly fortuitous win, it has to be said, through Fuoco's retirement, but still, Tom, you've got to be in it to win it.
You've got to be in it to win it. And Brendan Hartley's passed Di Grassi up into 7th place on the last lap. Colin crossing over the line. In 3rd place, he saw some much-needed points. He's been on a rotten run of luck prior to this, but he's got on the podium. Rossi up to 4, so some good points for the race. It didn't feel like they were going to get that much, but yeah, they won't complain with that. And Ed Spencer will certainly not be complaining, with Jack Aiken coming home in 5th place for Force India. More points for the team.
Oh, meanwhile, Lopez has got Hartley all over the back of him. Is this going to be a fight to the line here? Oh, Lopez, he gets good traction out of the last corner. Hartley not quite able to make the move there. Lopez holds on to P6. Brendan Hartley last to 7. Sam Hall, take note of that one.
Yeah, and that's karma to Sam Hall for not putting enough faith into the guy. That just shows how talented he actually is.
And behind those, Di Grassi in 8th position, Glock in P9, and Mike Conway getting 1 point for the Real team in P10. A rotten afternoon for Real, but at least they get a point out of it there. Sam Bird missing out by 1.6 seconds there. And Rossi, the last of the drivers on the lead lap. So, here are your official race results. Helio Castroneves, a winner on debut here in Kyalami. Marino Sato maintained some honour for the life team with P2 there. Callum Eilert and Alexander Rossi, a 3-4 for the LaRousse team. Jack Aitken, P5, another strong result there for the Force India. Jose Maria Lopez, P6, head of Brendan Hartley. What a superb return from him to the Grand Prix World Series. Lucas Di Grassi, 8th in the Zach Speed. Then Timo Glock and Mike Conway rounding out the point scorers. Sam Bird, 11th, head of Rossi. Brundle, McCarthy, Speed, Bernaldi, all finishing as well. Fuoco, 4 laps down at the end of the race, but classifies still. Then our retirees, D'Amata, Stevens, Turvey, McNish, Sospiri, Power, Franchitti, Suttil and Winkelhock out right at the start of this race. We will momentarily get confirmation of who took the fastest lap points. I think it was Antonio Fuoco, but we will get confirmation of that as soon as the graphic updates itself. I'm trying to get my head around everything that's gone on in this race. So here is your fastest lap. It is indeed Antonio Fuoco by 0.4 of a second to Marino Sato, and Brendan Hartley, the 3rd fastest lap of the race. A fantastic result there for the Kiwi. And Tom, it was all go in that race, wasn't it? We had 3 crashes within the opening few laps. Action all the way through, many overtakes, and in the end, a race winner on debut. I mean, what do you make of that one?
That was a sensational race here. There were question marks whether Kyalami should stay on the Grand Prix World Series calendar. Well, due to an updated mod for the track, it's provided some better racing, and boy, can we please have this still on the calendar in the years to come.
I completely agree with you there, Tom. That was absolutely fascinating, that one. And we are about to do it all again. That was the League 2 race. Coming up is League 1. We were going to have a break of about 5 minutes. So go make yourself a cup of tea and make sure you rejoin us in just a few minutes. See you then.
Ah, what music! There is no terrible way to win. There is only winning.
We won't be out long.
Take your time. Track's all yours.
You ready? The name on the middle of that steering wheel should tell you that I was born ready. Hit it. Attaboy.
Let me drive. I won't make a fool out of you.
I got a message for all of them. Shake and bake.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind?
That just happened.
These cars, you sit in a box, a coffin, gasoline all around you. It isn't like being inside a bomb.
It's tough enough being a girl on the track. Living in my dad's shadow doesn't help much.
You have to be kind to the car. You feel the poor thing groaning underneath you.
No race was ever won in the first corner.
I'm gonna give you an engine, low to the ground, extra big oil pan will cut the wind from underneath you. It'll give you 30 to 40 more horsepower.
Every one of us has to find a reason to do this. You do it because you're driven.
Brakes are warm. Tires are warm. I'll work in the cars and I'll drive and I'll eat and sleep and I'll work in the cars and I'll drive.
Damn fast, and when he runs so close together, it requires fantastic concentration and rather special skills.
I was beginning to think I'd never be anything more than a piston-happy lead-foot punk. Then this starts to happen.
If you're going to push a piece of machinery to the limit and expect it to hold together, you have to have some sense of where that limit is.
Besides, the best drivers don't dwell on the future or the past. The best drivers focus only on the present.
They could never have imagined it, those pioneers who invented the automobile, that it would possess us like this in our imaginations, our dreams.
I'm gonna give you a fuel line that will hold an extra gallon of gas. I'm gonna shave half an inch off you and shape you like a bullet.
Somebody put it in your mind you gotta be perfect every time out or you're a failure. Well, forget that. Just forget it.
Racing is in my blood.
I was put on this earth to race cars.
I accept every time I get in my car. There's 20% chance I could die, and I can live with it, but not 1% more.
No, Nicky, don't bring the percentages into this. Don't be a pro. The minute you do that, you kill what's good about this. You kill the sport.
And at that speed, your reactions can barely keep up with these sudden changes in direction.
You ready to put away your toys and grow up?
You want me to work the pit and you drive? Fine, we'll try that.
The car's a living, breathing thing, and she's alive.
If any of us imagined, really imagined, what it would be like to go into a tree at 150 miles an hour, we would probably never get into the cars at all. None of us.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver?
I am just as good as anybody out there on that track, and I don't need anybody to win my races for me.
I wish my daddy were alive to see this, to feel this.
And when we get you primed, painted, and weighed, you'll be ready to go out on that racetrack. You hear me? You're gonna do perfect.
You don't understand what happens, do you? They make 10,000 cars, they make them exactly the same way, and one or two of them turn out to be something special. Nobody knows why.
When I won it was probably the last time I ever felt pure victory.
So it has always seemed to me that to do something very dangerous requires a certain absence of imagination.
Because I'm quicker than all of you.
Soon you will know what it is like to be defeated by the hands of somebody who is truly better than you.
The only thing to do here is to drive just as fast as you know how and hope your car doesn't break.
And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
If you ain't first, you're last. There's 40 other vultures out there who managed to finish the race on their tires. You see Darrell Waltrip using up his tires?
There's nothing I can't do with a race car.
But hell, isn't that what we're in this for? To stare death in the face and to cheat it? Come on, there's nobility in that. It's like being knights.
Sometimes you could swear the whole thing's falling to bits.
No pressure, nobody breathing down my back, just driving because I left it pure.
On the other hand, I suppose potential problems are in the back of your mind all the time.
So in many ways, I feel responsible for what happened. And
You were, but trust me, watching you win those races while I was fighting for my life, you were equally responsible for getting me back in the car.
You're so lucky. Sit there all closed in by machinery and bolts, precise things. There's hardly any room for you. It must be a nice, safe feeling.
Yeah, you gotta learn to trust something. Might just as well be the seat of your pants.
A lot of people go through life doing things badly. Racing's important to men who do it well. When you're racing, it's life. Anything that happens before or after, it's just waiting.
Well, we can drive. We can drive beyond the limits of the tires, the engine, the car, anything else.
Look out there. Out there is the perfect lap. No mistakes. Every gear change, every corner. Perfect. You see it.
I just hope when you do, that I'm there to see it.
Ask any racer, any real racer. It don't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning's winning.
But it isn't just business, is it? What we do. It's passion, love, which is why we are prepared to risk our lives for it.
Racing. That's the name of the game, isn't it? Win or lose, put up or shut up.
Why does everybody keep telling me what my problem is?
But you get so emotional.
You would never, ever say that to a guy.
If you don't leave your feelings off the track, you're never going to get what you want.
I'm a race driver, and I can win it on my own.
Please let me race.
fine. Then let's race.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back for League One. What a fantastic League Two race that was. Andrew Sampson saying tea. You need something stronger than that. Well, you're a drink of choice, mate. That's your business. I don't mind what you have. Just go and enjoy yourself. That was an absolutely fantastic League Two race we had. And Tom, alongside me in the commentary box, if that League Two race is anything to go by, we are set for an absolute barnstormer of a League One race.
I cannot look for it. Can't wait for it actually. And given it's it's a higher league as well, and given the number of overtakes we had and the great battles we had, I think we're going to be in for a belter here in Kyalami. Let's hope we get a cleaner one than we did last time.
A lot was going on in our League 2 race. Multiple accidents. We've had 3 drivers who will be sent to the back of the grid for the League 2 race in Istanbul. As you say, Tom, let's hope it's a little bit of a cleaner race this time round, but still as exciting. But before all that, let's take you through the one and only driver change that we've got for this upcoming race. And it's at BAR, Tom Butterworth making the decision to drop Sebastian Buemi down into the reserve role and bring on board Nick de Vries, effectively to evaluate him in a race seat. And if I'm being completely honest with you, Tom, if I was going to replace any driver at BAR, Sebastian Buemi, he's in the top 10 in the championship at the moment, and John-Eric Verne, I know he's our reigning champion, but he hasn't really been getting the results so far this season, so not sure I would have gone for Buemi myself.
I think he's sort of done it to try and rekindle his title challenge, whether Nick de Vries is the option going forward. I'll be interested to see what his race pace is like in comparison to quali, because he's been out-qualified by Verne, but not by March. But I'd be really intrigued to see, how his race strategy plays out. He could well be in the frame for a podium, and the BAR team are in desperate need of some good points in their quest, maybe for the title, if they can rekindle the form. They're on 41 points, and they are 53 points behind leaders Super Aguri, so there's still time.
Well, before we have a look at the team standings, let's have a quick look at the driver standings and see how that's going. Nico Hülkenberg at the top in the Aero, 64 points for him. He is a race winner this season. Antonio Felix da Costa, a model of consistency there in P2. Not a race winner yet this season, but lots of points finishes and a few podiums as well. He's on 61 points as we head into round 7. Scott Dixon, 2-time race winner so far this season, and our most recent race winner, 53 points for the Simtech. It seems to be win or bust at the moment for the Simtech team, Tom. They've got a really fast car, but they've also got a fragile car, so it seems to me like they either win the race or go out of the race trying.
Yeah, and Dixon will be thinking that he needs to carry on that form they had from last time out in Chennai. But we can't forget about his woeful performance in Fuji that just sent him tumbling down the order, and he was shocking that day. But I still think Dixon's in contention for the title. Hülkenberg, da Costa right in there. Lotterer still thereabouts, picking up pieces. And there's actually rumours going around at Onyx. Now, Ryan Ferrer is saying that if Sato doesn't finish in the points today, he may consider replacing him. But he's 5th in the championship, so I don't see why he should need to do that.
Well, Takuma Sato, I'm looking at his results here. He had 4 points finishes on the bouts in the opening 4 races of the season, including a podium in Yonggam. But then the last 2 races, he just hasn't had any speed whatsoever. He's finished 11th and 17th. Ryan Ferris, his patience running a little bit thin with Sato. I can see why he might want to change that up, but maybe that threat of dropping Sato from the lineup will maybe encourage him to actually go and get a good result here today.
So we'll wait and see further down the line.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Ryan decides to do with him. Sato, he'll be hoping for a strong result today. His teammate, Kazuki Nakajima, 10 points behind Sato in P6 in the championship. He's on 35. Robin Fraines in the second Super Aguri. He's up into the top 10 in the championship. After a podium last time out in India, he finished 3rd in that race behind Scott Dixon and his teammate Antonio Felix da Costa. Sebastian Buemi, he's on 31 points, but he is not racing today, with Tom Butterworth deciding to evaluate Nick de Vries in a race seat. Kevin Magnussen holding on to P9 with 28 points. And Kamui Kobayashi, he won the season opening race in Taupo. After that, it took him until the last race in India to score points again, where he finished 9th and brought 2 points. So a total of 27 there for the Japanese driver. He'll want another strong result here today. As for the teams, Super Aguri at the top, 3 points over Arrows, 94 and 91 points respectively. Simtech a further 5 points behind with 86, and then Onyx on 80. AGS, the French team, led by Phil Kinch, 63 points for them so far this season. BMS Scuderia Italia, the race-winning team at the Japanese Grand Prix, 51 points for them, 10 points ahead of our reigning champions BAR. Then Midland in 8th with 34, Minardi with 30, and Forti Corsi on 25. And Forti Corsi starting to see a little bit of a re-emergence in form here, Tom. They brought on Roy Nassani for the last race that we had in India. straight away finishing 5th and bringing 10 points to the team. And they will be expecting to get another points finish today here.
I can imagine so too. If Roy Nissany can do as good of a job here in Kyalami as he did so in Chennai, then I think he could be in the crocket. I'm really interested to see how Luca Badoa gets on, because he's not raced in the Grand Prix World Series before. Can he put the emotions of Nürburgring of 1999 behind him and actually put in as good of a drive and get a 4th place finish or higher out of this one?
So Luca Badoa, he's making his debut in the Grand Prix World Series today in place of 40 Corsi. Unfortunately, we don't have the graphic for that one. He can blame the graphics department for that one. I know that I will be. So Luca Badoa in at 40 Corsi in place of Mika Salo. Now let's get down to trackside and see the grid for this race. It is going to be Simtech on pole once again. That is, I think, a 4th pole position in a row for Scott Woodward and his team. Stoffel Van Dorn on pole ahead of Robin Freins, his best qualifying of his career so far. Kevin Magnussen doing very well in the AGS to put it P3 on the grid ahead of Kamui Kobayashi. Pietro Fittipaldi in 5th alongside Kazuki Nakajima. Jean-Eric Verne and championship leader Nico Hulkenberg make up row 4. Debutant Nick de Vries on row 5 alongside Jaime Alguersuari, 10th place for Prost driver. They need a good result here today. Marco Andretti, he could have won the last race before retirement. 11th ahead of Jos Verstappen in Minardi. Paul Di Resta and Antonio Felix da Costa on row 7. Roy Nissany and Andre Lotterer on row 8. Tom Christensen, Thiago Monteiro in the Midland Racing. They are 17th and 18th. Takuma Sato, 19th. That's disappointing for the Japanese driver. Pascal Wehrlein in 20th, head of Pedro Della Rosa and Simone Di Silvestro on row 11. Luca Badoa, his debut today. He is 23rd on the grid, head of Tatiana Calderon, and then at the back, Alex Albon and Scott Dixon, both taking back of the grid penalties from the incident they had last time out. And Tom, that incident that they had, there was a lot of debate afterwards as to who was at fault. But both Sam Hall and Scott Woodward deciding that they will both accept back of the grid penalties. They've got it all to do today.
Yeah, and Scott Dixon will be happy to have kept his win, actually, because that could have seen a disqualification from that one. But that means he'll start at the back of the grid, and can he put in as good of a performance as Brendan Hartley did in the League 2 race?
So we know that Simtech can lead and win from the front, but what can Dixon do from the back is going to be fascinating to see his progress. We're waiting for the lights to go out here. And they are off and away in Kyalami for the League 1 race. Riding on board straight away with Jean-Eric Verne there in P7. And Freins has made the jump on Van Dorn actually. Freins got a much better start than the Simtech and goes into the lead of the Kyalami Grand Prix. And Van Dorn also under threat there from Kamui Kobayashi. So Freins and Subaguri from 2nd on the grid straight into the lead of this Grand Prix. We haven't seen any carbon fibre flying in this race so far. We have Winkelhock retire right at the start in the League 2 race. It looks like everyone is safely through this time, but what a start from Robin Freins in Subaguri. Straight into P1, Van Dorn into 2nd, holding up Kamui Kobayashi in 3rd. He started in 6th place, he's had a good start there. Anderson down for the 34th, Fittipaldi to 6th, and Verne, Hulkenberg, De Vries,
So you're a long way to go, yeah. You need to see where Scott Dixon is in the main. He's only probably got 2 or 3 places so far. But I can imagine they've got a whole lot more. And he's sort of gone back there. Marco and Ricky up into 10th place. You can see where he quite did it. Goes back a little bit now, nonetheless. Got some good points. They're only on 6 points. And they've got a lot of ground to make up. It's a big drop.
Jaime Alguersuari has yet to score any points in this season so far. Just had a bit of an issue with the sound there. Apologies for that. But I think that is all well and good now. But Jaime Alguersuari, his best finish so far this season is 11th. And that has been it for Alguersuari. He's retired from every other race that he's done. So not a fantastic start to the season for the Spaniard. But he's now running a P10. Can he take his first points of the season? Like, we all hope so. And I know that you definitely hope so, Tom.
Yeah, well, we've only picked up 6 points, as I've already mentioned, so perhaps a few more today would be fine. And we've also got the on-drivers test. We've got Felipe Nasser and, at the moment, Christian Klein, that we're assessing at the moment as well, in case we have to make changes later in the year.
Young driver test will be coming up after the Istanbul Grand Prix, which will be the location of our next Grand Prix next week, going around the famous Turkey circuit. We all love Turn 8 there. And straight away after that, we will be having a young driver test where you can evaluate any new drivers that you might want to bring on board into the Grand Prix World Series. But for now, let's focus on this League 1 action here in Kyalami. And that looks like Antonio Felix da Costa going down the inside of Andretti. It is the Super Guri up into 11th place. Da Costa, he's fighting for the championship at the moment. He'll want to make up as many positions as he can. The Portuguese driver today starting 14th on the grid, who's very disappointing in qualifying. And when there's a championship at stake, he will want to make every opportunity count. He's now in 11th position. Here is Stoffel van Dorn, P2 behind Robin Franks in the lead. There's Nakajima having a bit of a lock up there from P4. He's under pressure from Kevin Magnussen. And Nakajima, he's got a podium to his name in Adelaide this season. He's had a good start to the season. Not quite on the same level as his teammate Takuma Sato, but more recently, Tom, Nakajima's the one who's been leading that team forward to the front of the grid.
Yeah, as Nakajima, can he famously take his first victory in the Grand Prix World Series? He has made his debut in the second season. He didn't take part in the first one at all, but he's in the second season for the Onyx team and doing a very fine job, while Sato is struggling towards the back where he has been in the last few races. Kobayashi in third place for Arrows. He'll be hoping for his first win since the opening round in Taupo. There's Pascal Wehrlein in the AGS, closing on what looks like the Lola. Is that Tatiana Calderon, or is that Simona Di Silvestro in front of him?
It is Di Silvestro, the graphic changing at just the right time there. Simona Di Silvestro in 21st ahead of Pascal Wehrlein in 22nd position. Now, Wehrlein been quite disappointing so far this weekend. He came on board at the AGS team as a replacement for Alexander Albon after Phil Kinch decided to drop the Anglo tyre and bring in Wehrlein as a replacement. And Wehrlein took second place straight away in his first race back in the Grand Prix World Series. He did race half a season for VAR in season 1. So second place on his first race back. We thought Wehrlein could be one of the dark horses to maybe mount a late challenge for the title. But today, Tom, the German, just looking at my notes here, he's qualified in P20 and he's now down to P22. So it's going well for one side of the AGS garage with Kevin Magnussen there in P5. Not so much going well for the other side.
No, but we've still got a long way to go yet. We're still having the League 2 race earlier, and I think pit strategy is going to play a huge role in this one today. With it being, I think, around about 20 to 21 seconds for a pit stop. Now that will very much come in handy for those who are going to go for the undercut to begin with.
So the League 2 race saw primarily 2 stoppers definitely being the way to go, especially with such a short pit lane here. And Antonio Fuoco very nearly taking victory there, retiring only a handful of laps from the end, handing victory to Helio Castro Neves in the Leighton House, his first ever Grand Prix World Series race, and he takes his first ever Grand Prix World Series victory. So Chris Cavani and the Leighton House team very happy there. But who's going to win in the League 1 race? Well, at the moment is Robin Fraint out in the lead, but he's got a very fast Simtek behind him. Simtek has been one of the dominant cars at the moment. They're leading the way in terms of horsepower. It's got the most powerful engine on the grid. But as we said before, Tom, if you're going to have more power in the car, it comes at the cost of less reliability.
And Van Dorn is going to be closing in on fines like a rush, but he doesn't need to rush it at the moment, does Van Dorn, because he'll be thinking about the championship as well for both him and for Simtek. Whilst Dixon is way down the order. He was in 23rd position the last time I looked on the graphic. Don't know whether he's made up another place or two. But it's so far good for Van Dorn and for Fines. And going back to what you said about reliability, you know, it's equally important to have great reliability. We saw in the League 2 race where Antonio Fuoco was leading for the whole of that one until his suspension collapsed with 4 laps remaining.
It's so important to find that fine balance because, of course, you want to put power into the car so you can get your car into a position where you can fight for results and get the prize money out of it. But then you also run the risk of having a less reliable car, and some team principals doing it much better than others at the moment. We're looking at the Midlands of Paul de Resta there, fighting with Roy Nissany for P13. Now, riding on board with Andre Lotterer, he was our race winner in Fuji. Now running way down the order here and not finding any pace in the BMS at all at the moment. While meanwhile, Pietro Fittipaldi runs in P6. Now Fittipaldi, he hasn't had a strongest start to the season himself. He's still looking for a maiden podium here today, but running in P6. Maybe could advance a bit further up from there, but he's falling behind the AGS of Kevin Magnussen, 1.1 seconds the gap there. So it's, with a lot of the teams at the moment, Tom, it seems to be two different tails on the other side of the garage. With Simtek, we've got Van Dorn in second and Dixon down towards the back. BMS, we've got Fittipaldi in sixth and Lotterer down towards the back. Magnussen for AGS in 5th, and Wehrlein down towards the back. It seems to be one of those series, Tom, where if you're not really going to get the job done on the day, you are going to be back down towards the order, which is why consistency is such an important issue in this championship.
Important indeed. I'm just having a look at De Vries. He closed in on Jean-Luc Verne in his maiden outing for, not just for BAR, but also in the Grand Prix World Series. And we're just cut away from him there, and we got back to the battle for the lead. Van Dorn within a second still of Fines. And there's Kobayashi in 3rd. I think with Kobayashi 3rd and Hulkenberg 7th, I'm sure Emma Buttock will be very happy to see her boys up there and to continue getting some good points for the team. Now, looking at where arrows are in the team standings, as soon as I get that up, it says that arrows are only 3 points off Super Aguri at the top. Now, as it stands, with where they are in comparison to Super Aguri, I don't think they'll get as many points as Super Aguri. It's around about the same, I think.
Well, we do still have a long way to go in this Grand Prix. We're just starting lap 6 out of 54. We're looking at Tom Christensen there in the Minardi. Christensen, he's not... Well, he's been inconsistent, I think it's fair to say, as Tom Christensen. He came into the series with a lot of hype and was expected to perform reasonably well. He took a podium, a very famous podium actually, at Sepang, when he finished in P2, albeit half a minute behind Nico Hulkenberg. But that was purely on merit, Tom. It wasn't an attritional race, it wasn't a wet race or anything. Tom Christensen just got the job done and brought home a brilliant P2 for himself and for Minardi, but hasn't really done anything else noteworthy since then. And he seems to have the speed underneath him, but just can't really extract the most out of the car.
There, and just looking to see there's a move there from what looks like the Prost of Alguersuari, who's shown some better signs of competitiveness here than he did so in Genai. And we've got Nick De Vries just fending him off there, and Kobayashi in 3rd place. Behind him are Nakajima and Magnussen. And just going back to, we just want to touch on Andretti actually, because can you see the pace between him and Da Costa? I wonder if Andretti's on a heavier fuel load.
I did actually notice earlier, Tom, Andretti was forming a bit of a queue behind him, as was Callum Eilert in the League 2 race. So I think Andretti, as you say, Tom, he might well be on a heavier fuel load here. Da Costa is 4.6 seconds up the road to the American, and then he's got Nissany, Di Resta, Verstappen and everyone else behind him as well. So Andretti, a bit of a cork in the bottle at the moment, and if Nissany can clear him, he will surely clear off into the distance past him. Andretti looks like he's going to go on later into this race. There is Kamui Kobayashi, looking to get a good result here today. He won the season opening race in Taupo. Since then has only taken one further point scoring position. It was a P9 last time out in Chennai. He's not been overly happy with the way this season's gone. The race win being the highlight, but being the only highlight at the moment really, Tom.
And just looking further down the field, there doesn't seem to be too many changes. One of the drivers are just thinking more about pit stops, because we've hardly seen any changes inside the top 15 anyway. I wonder where Scott Dixon is at the moment, because he was 23rd last time I saw, but I'd like to think he's made another place or two.
We're riding on board with Nick De Vries, our debutant here today for the BAR team, taking the place of Sebastian Buemi. Tom Butterworth making the decision to evaluate De Vries in a race seat. There is Stoffel Van Dorn trying to chase down Robin Freins for P1, but falling behind. The gap earlier on was about 0.6 seconds. It's now a full 1 second between the Super Aguri and the Simsang. Now here's Luca Badoa making his debut in the Grand Prix World Series for the 40 Corsi team. They're in P24, I believe that is. He is ahead of Alex Albon and Tatiana Calderon. So Badoa, he's got Scott Dixon right ahead of him, so there's Dixon still in P23. He's behind, I think that is Pascal Wehrlein there in the AGS. So Dixon not making too much progress just yet, but we still have a long way to go here. And if you cast your mind back to the League 2 race earlier on today, Brendan Hartley, he started in last by virtue of finally serving his... Oh, is that Verne going slowly? Jean-Eric Verne pulling off to the side of the circuit. He's got a mechanical issue of some sort. Oh, it's a puncture. It's a puncture for the reigning champion. That is a real shame for him there. He's wanting to get some more points on the board, but once again, it's a disappointing end to a disappointing season so far for the Frenchman. There is our first retirement of the League 1 Kyalami Grand Prix. Jean-Eric Verne out of the race.
Well, he got further in the race than Marcus Finkelhot did in League 2, but
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, and it's the result's the same, unfortunately, for Verne, who's having a difficult time with it all, isn't he? And what's that now for his points total for the season? Just trying to have a look.
So he's currently on 10 points. He's only had a 1 point scoring finish, which was in Korea when he took P5. He hasn't scored any other points. I don't know what's happened to John-Eric Verne this season. He is our reigning champion. He took 4 wins last season en route to the title, and at the moment only has 10 points to his name. And Tom, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, and that promotes his teammate De Vries to 8th, Alguersuari to 9th, and De Costa to 10th place now. And you can see there's a move from
Alguersuari looking down the inside of De Vries, and the Dutchman cuts him off. Overtaking is very possible around this circuit, as proven in the League 2 race, but it is also very possible to defend as well. And De Vries showing he's not afraid to get his elbows out. He holds on to P8, at least for the time being. There is Stoffel Van Dorn still falling further away from Robin Franks at the moment. We know that Simtek is one of the most powerful cars on the grid, I think the most powerful car on the grid, but Super Guri's also got quite a big kick behind it as well, and Franks making it work at the moment, possibly on a lighter fuel load. We haven't seen what their respective fuel loads are yet. As all Sato's going a bit wide there. He's down in 16th position behind Tom Christensen and Jos Verstappen in the Minardis. Trying to check my notes here for where Sato started. It was quite low down in this race, so he started P19. So he has made up a few positions into P16, but not really enough for Ryan Ferris at the moment. We know that he's thinking about replacing Sato at some point, maybe even in time for the next race. We'll have to see what decision he makes, especially given Sato's not on the pace at all in this race either. Kamui Kobayashi, they're in P3. He's all out on his own at the moment. He's got Stoffel Van Dorn 2.7 seconds on the road, and there is Dixon looking at Simone Di Silvestro, not getting past this time around. Di Silvestro chopping off the Simtek there and saying, no, you're not coming through. Dixon still in P23 and not making as much progress as we thought he might. At least at this stage of the race, he might have to use the pit stops, Tom, to make his way through later on.
Yeah, I think he's going to need to do an undercut if he was to get anything. Can't quite make the move stick that.
And Nakajima's up into P4 there. Sorry, Tom, to cut across you. Kevin Magnussen has just got past Kazuki Nakajima for 4th place. Just popped up there on the graphic. We are looking at Andre Lotterer, like way down in the lower reaches of the field. He's ahead of De La Rosa there. And behind the millions of, I think that is Thiago Monteiro, who's chasing down Takuma Sato. And Dixon down the inside of Simone Di Silvestro there as well. I believe he made the move stick there. And here's Da Costa, right on the back of us. Wait, Hulkenberg's dropped down into P10 actually. Has he got a problem? As Hulkenberg, he's lost quite a few positions. We'll have to wait and see if Nissani gets past him as well, or whether Hulkenberg maybe has just made a mistake somewhere. And Hulkenberg is into the pits. Now, he lost positions before getting to the pit lane, so I'm guessing he's had a problem there and had to come in for an early first stop. So they will try and adapt strategy as best they can and see if they can still make this a 2-stop strategy for our championship leader. But that's not what he wants at this stage of the season, especially when he has the points advantage. He'll want to make every race count and not give away any points to the likes of Antonio Felix da Costa, second in the championship. Currently running in P9. Bassani now up into P10, but we're now starting to get to the point where we could see the first scheduled pit stops. There's Paul di Resta looking down the inside of Marco Andretti. Oh, I think there's a little bit of a nudge there, Tom. I think he might have just nudged the back of the Manners gearbox there.
I think he just missed him, but that was very close to being contact and both drivers going off the road.
And there is a bottom half of the order there. Jean-Eric Verne now only retirement. Hulkenberg now down into last, having come in what I believe was a forced pit stop. Calderon in 24th, Albon 23rd, then Bedoa 22nd on debut at the moment. Di Silvestro 21st, and Dixon from last up into P20 so far. So he's making some progress here, but not as much as he or Scott Woodwis would like. Motorsport Mike commenting saying, all aboard the Andretti train, choo choo. We had a train with Callum Island last time out, and now Andretti proving to be the same sort of roadblock there. Antonio Felix da Costa getting a bit crossed up into the final corner there as we go on to lap 12. Da Costa running second in the championship, and P9 at the moment on track. He will want to make up as many positions as he can. There is a championship that is a very real possibility here for the Portuguese driver. We've still got a long way to go this season, but with the start of the season he hasn't yet won a race so far in Season 2, or in fact in his entire Grand Prix World Series career, he's yet to win a race, but consistent point scoring And I think he's got 4 podiums. I'm just checking notes here. He's got 3 podiums and a 4th place. So highly consistent point scoring for Da Costa. Gives him 2nd in the championship at the moment. But running in P9, he'll want to be a bit further up than that. We're now on board with not Mario Andretti, Marco Andretti even. P11, but he's got that train right behind him. Tom, how long can he hold them off? Oh, Kevin Magnussen! Magnussen's having a problem here. It looks to be an engine blowout. It is indeed an engine problem there on the readout for the Dane. And he was doing so well up there in 4th place, Tom. What a shame for the Dane there.
These points go out of the window for Phil Kinch and for his team. Oh, that's such a shame that for Magnussen. He drove so well up until that point. That promotes Pietro Fittipaldi to 5th, Nick de Vries 6th, Jaime Alguersuari 7th now.
So Kevin Magnussen out of the League One Kyalami Grand Prix. He becomes our 2nd retirement after Jean-Eric Vergne's earlier demise. Here is that trainer we talk about, headed up by Marco Andretti. He's got Paul di Resta, Jos Verstappen, Tom Christensen, Takuma Sato, Thiago Montero, Andre Lotterer, Scott Dixon, Pedro De La Rosa. They're all forming a queue behind Andretti here, so when they all come in for the pits, they'll try and get the undercut if they can on the manor. Andretti, he's really being a cork in the bottle here at the moment. These drivers are not going to be at all happy behind him. We know it's possible to overtake around here, Tom, but at the moment, Andretti's defending really well.
Yeah, and my Nissani ahead of him is not closing in enough on Da Costa ahead, so Nissani will be very glad he's ahead of this bunch. It's just whether he can actually pull away from them.
So, lap 13 out of 54. Robin Frains continues to lead, building a gap of 1.8 seconds over Stoffel Van Dorn then. All di Resta trying to go down the inside of Andretti, but Andretti holding on and keeping 10th place for now. Kamui Kobayashi, P3, 5.2 seconds off the lead of Robin Frains. Kazuki Nakajima, 2 Japanese drivers within the top 4. Pietro Fittipaldi having a much better run here today. He is in P5, 11.2 seconds off the race lead at the moment. Nick de Vries on debut running very well in 6th place. Then Jaime Alguersuari, he needs to get some points on the board here today. Antonio Felix da Costa in 8th ahead of Roy Nissany and Paul di Resta. Di Resta is now past Marco Andretti for P10.
So Di Resta will be very happy to get him out of the way now. Jos Verstappen's the next driver to try and make a move, and his Hulkenberg locks up at the West Bank corner. And just looking to see how close he's behind the queue of cars which will be coming up very, very shortly.
So we ride on board with Nico Hulkenberg here. He took an earlier pit stop, we believe due to a problem of some sort, but he's now back out on track. And he's in clear air at the moment, so he can make these laps count and then maybe try and get past some of the other drivers when they come in for their pit stops. There is your race leader, Robin Frains, with a gap of 2.1 seconds over Stoffel Van Dorn. So Frains putting in a very good performance here today. He's yet to win his first race in the Grand Prix World Series. He's taken podiums, 2 of them I believe, if my memory serves me right, but not yet a race victory. He will want to do something about that today. Here's Luca Badoa with Alex Albon up the inside, and he has to back out of it. Albon disappointing down in P22 at the moment. He did take a back of the grid penalty for this race, but much like Scott Dixon, we would have expected him to make some better progress up through the field. They're stuck in P22 and Albon not really being as racy as we thought he might.
No, and Frains is in the pits for Super Aguri, so this is an important pit stop for the Super Aguri crew and for Frains.
So he comes into the pits and puts 25 laps of fuel on board. They'll take him to around about lap 40, which will surely see him onto a 2-stop strategy here today. That will account for some of the speed that he had over Van Dorn being on a lighter fuel load. The freeze in as well.
So where will these drivers feed back in? They'll be in that queue, won't they, Topher?
They will indeed. Frains has come out in P7. He's behind Da Costa, but crucially ahead of Nissany and co. So that's good track position there for Robin Frains. Nick de Vries, he's gone down outside of P15, so we're not sure what position he's come back into just yet. Stoffel Van Dorn into lead. Oh, bit of a moment there. De Vries coming out ahead of Nico Hulkenberg, and I think that is Alex Albon. It is indeed. So De Vries onto the fresher tyres. He's running in P21 now, and right behind, who I think is Simona Di Silvestro. It's Tatiana Calderon in the Mastercard Lola, and De Vries wasting no time in getting past the Colombian. De Vries on the fresher tyres. He needs to make this work. He needs to get the positions if he's going to prevent himself losing out later on. Here is Scott Dixon. He's still at the back of this train of cars here. He's right behind Pascal Wehrlein in the AGS here. And the Andretti train causing a lot of problems at the moment. Ryan's getting a little bit crossed up there as he's getting his tyres up to temperature. He's in 7th place, 6 seconds behind his teammate Da Costa. He's got some clear air that he can work with at the moment, as Jaime Alguersuari and Antonio Fix da Costa both come into the pits for their first stops.
So where will those two be back out? If you're coming into the pits, you want to get out ahead of that long queue. Now, Alguersuari came in before Da Costa, so he'll be the one exiting the pit lane first. Fines has gone through, De Resta has gone through, as has Nissany, Andretti's through, Verstappen, Christensen, Montero, Lotterer, De La Rosa, Wehrlein and Dixon have gone past him. So Alguersuari is going to fall into the thick of that traffic, isn't he?
He will be hoping that they pit as soon as possible. He will not want to get held up in the traffic at all. Kamui Kobayashi, as you can see on screen, running second in this race at the moment. And there's Jos Verstappen down the inside of Marco Andretti. He finally dispatches the man, and Verstappen up into P8. All these guys still need to make their pit stop soon. I wonder if Andretti is on a one-stop strategy here. He's not that slow, Tom. Like, he is a fast driver, we know that. It must be the fuel loads.
I'd like to think that, but he's probably on a heavy fuel load, which doesn't necessarily mean he's on a one-stop. It could be that he's going on a longer first stint.
We haven't yet seen what his fuel load actually is, so we do not have an absolute answer for that just yet. As Sato is out of the race, and it's an engine blowout there for Takuma Sato, the back of his car on fire. It's an oil leak, it's not an engine blowout. The oil is leaking out of the Onyx and has caught fire in the heat of the South African sun. So there is Sato pulling off to the side of the circuit, being very sensible there and getting his Onyx off the track as quickly as he can. And that is disappointment there for Ryan Ferris and the Onyx team. Sato, is that potentially the last he's run in the Grand Prix World Series?
So Sato will be ruining that now. I mean, given his recent run of form, yeah, I'd love to see Sato still in it, because he's a better driver than a lot of the others out there still. It's just, he's not having the best times at all. And De Vries is in 16th place, and there's a Prost coming through down the inside of Luca Badera. It's out.
So De Vries and we get some more drivers into the pits there. I think that's De La Rosa pulling into the pit lane just there, but De Vries and Alguersuari are on the fresher tyres here, but are in the traffic. They need to dispatch these cars as quickly as they can. Here is De La Rosa. He is going on to a two-stop strategy in the Prost. His teammate Alguersuari has already been in for his first pit stop, but is stuck in traffic behind De Vries, who's trying to get past Wehrlein, Dixon, Lotterer and everyone else. So this is a crucial time for De Vries and Alguersuari. They need to be sensible in traffic. And Albon's going very wide there. He's just held on to that. Well held, Alex. He carries on in P24. It's been very disappointing so far for the Anglo tie. We expected that he might go up through the order a bit quicker than he has done, but not really taking his opportunities. Still running down in P24. What could he do with a better qualifying, Tom? If he can qualify at least in the top 10 maybe, I'm sure he could put on a good race of it. But starting from the back of the grid, his job has been made infinitely harder.
And just looking at Van Dorn's times at the moment, 1:16.9 for him, 1:16.8 for Kobayashi. And we just saw an overtake actually from the Super Aguri that looked like... Is that fine? So she's got past...
That's Da Costa getting past Hulkenberg for P16, so Da Costa's coming into the pits as well. He wants to try and make this strategy work, but he's coming up to the back of this queue of cars as well. So this queue, which has been caused by Marco Andretti, is causing all sorts of issues for the people who are coming in for the earlier pit stops. Kamui Kobayashi, a tenth of a second quicker than Van Dorn that last time around, not really enough to make that much headway into the Van Dorn. Wehrlein is into the pits, which will release Nick De Vries and Alguersuari now to chase off after Scott Dixon. And this is very crucial times at the moment, Tom. It's all action in the pit lane. Where is everyone going to filter out?
It's a very difficult one to call. I can imagine the queue will start to form again once everyone pits, and then it's all pretty much down to who fares the most in the second round of pit stops. There's Fittipaldi. Well, looking at the gap he's got to those likes of Nissany, it's 17 seconds, Verstappen 19, and Andretti 22, I think. So Fittipaldi will maybe want to come in this lap to minimise the traffic he's going to filter back out in.
he might come out just ahead of Marco Andretti. He's got a gap of 22 seconds over him, so that would be very close between him and the American. He carries on for another lap here. He's got Robbie Fraines for company behind him, fighting for P4. Fraines the net race leader at the moment, but on a different strategy to Pietro Fittipaldi ahead of him. And Fraines, he'll want to waste no time getting past the Brazilian here. He's right on the gearbox of that BMX Scuderia, but not finding a way through just yet. Here's Kazuki Nakajima, P3, he's yet to pit as well. Same with Kamui Kobayashi. As Stoffel Van Dorn, as Dixon gets Christensen for 10th. Oh, that's why Christensen is into pit. As Romain Fraines down the inside of Fittipaldi, and he's now off after the back of Kazuki Nakajima.
So Christensen in the pits for Minardi. That promotes Verstappen, Andretti, Dixon and Lotter into the top 10. And De Vries and Alguersuari into 11th and 12th. So I would imagine that Verstappen's going to come back out into the thick of that traffic once more. As you can see, De Vries down the inside of Lotterer, who I believe is yet to pit in this race, and he gets through. So De Vries making up a position through all that, and I don't think it'll be too long before Alguersuari follows suit.
And here is Tom Christensen down in P22. We mentioned earlier he's taken a podium this season at Sepang. Hasn't really got any other noteworthy results since then, but there is some speed there in the Minardi. Stoffel Van Dorn comes into the pits out of the lead, so this is going to be crucial to see where he comes out in relation to Robin Fraines, who before he was only a second behind. But Fraines going for an earlier pit stop strategy. There he is going down the pit straight now, so I reckon Fraines is going to have quite a sizable lead here by the time these drivers come out. But Fraines on a different strategy, and it's not necessarily going to work just yet. We still have more pit stops to go. Van Dorn will be on the fresher tyres compared to Fraines, who's been on those tyres for I think about 5 or 6 laps now. So Van Dorn out of the pits. We'll wait to see the next sector split to see exactly what the gaps are. It says 9.1 seconds, but Van Dorn still getting up to speed there. So Fraines is time turning green, so he has just gone through into the next sector split. Van Dorn, he will be up next. We're waiting to see what the gap's going to be. There is Marco Andretti there in P8. He's got Alguersuari and De Vries all over the back of him. The graphics just changed. 14.1 seconds between Fraines and Van Dorn.
Well, I just interrupt. Alguersuari's actually got ahead of De Vries now on merit, so Alguersuari, should he get past Andretti, he'll have a bit of clear track ahead of him before he catches up to Fittipaldi. There we go, down the inside, Alguersuari makes up another position.
So people not really wanting to spend much time behind the manor, they will have been told that he's been on a different strategy, so wasting little time getting through there. Alguersuari's up into P8, having a much better race so far. He was actually benched for a couple of races. Tom, I don't need to remind you of this, I'm sure, but Alguersuari, he picked up a race ban after multiple incidents at the Sepang Grand Prix. Felipe Nasr was brought in for 2 races. Alguersuari instead sat out 2 races instead of just the 1. And Nasr did do a reasonable job. He did pick up some points, but Alguersuari now back in the championship, almost with a point to prove, Tom.
Yes, indeed, and Dixon is almost forming a queue of his own. He's yet to pit in this race, and he's run up in 6th place. And another driver who's yet to pit is Roy Nissany in the 40.
So possible one-stoppers here. We did see in the League 2 race that there were some drivers who took a longer first stint. There goes Dixon into the pits, so maybe just a longer first stint and then a shorter middle or final stint. Dixon putting on 15 laps of fuel, so that is a 2-stop strategy there for the Kiwi, looking for another victory this season. It's probably not going to come today, starting from the back of the grid. But stranger things have happened, haven't they? As Nick De Vries looking up the inside of Marco Andretti there. De Vries, he's on a different strategy to Andretti in front of him and doesn't want to be stuck behind the manor for too long here. Alguersuari has already cleared the American and is already almost 3 seconds up the road. And De Vries is now past Andretti into P8. Da Costa, he'll want to try and follow through on De Vries if he can, and he does indeed. So Andretti losing 2 positions there in as many corners. And Da Costa and De Vries now wanting to get further into the higher reaches of the points paying positions. Here is Romain Fraines with 11.9 seconds advantage over Van Dorn after the first round of pit stops.
So Fraines over the line with a 1 minute 14.8. How does that compare with Van Dorn as he crosses the line? Let's have a look. It's a 1:13.2, so Van Dorn's taking 1.5 seconds out of Fraines' lead.
So Van Dorn very quick at this stage. He is on fresher tyres than Fraines, of course, as we have Hulkenberg making a move there in the arrows. Van Dorn 1.5 seconds ahead of Fraines on that last lap alone. So Van Dorn, he wants to get this race victory. He started on pole, lost out, and Kobayashi running a bit wide there, but able to hold on to the arrows there. Alguersuari now challenging Roy Nissany. Nissany's yet to pit. He will be on really old tyres by now. Alguersuari, he's got the tyre advantage and will want to make that count as he goes down the inside here. And he gets the move done. Yes, he does. Alguersuari through into P6 past Roy Nissany. As Paul di Resta is now challenging Marco Andretti as well. Andretti's dropping like a stone here at the moment. He's already, looking at the times here, he's already over 2 seconds behind Hülkenberg. So Andretti just does not have the pace at the moment. So I think at this point, because he hasn't pitted yet, Tom, it won't be so much the fuel at this stage. But those tyres are 21 laps old now.
Well, can I just say about Nissany, the last lap time he did was a 1 minute 19. Compare that to Van Dorn, who just set the fastest up of the race, a 1 minute 13.
There's a big time difference there. But Nissany, he's yet to pit himself. He will be doing so very soon, I should imagine. Van Dorn now down to 10.5 seconds behind Robin Frains. No, Frains, he's comfortable at the moment, but we still have a long way to go here. We're not that far away from half distance here in the League 1 Kyalami Grand Prix. So, Christensen looked like he very nearly got into the back of his teammate there, Jos Verstappen. What's the golden rule of racing, Tom?
Do not take out your teammate.
Do not take out your teammate. He got very close there between the Minardi duo there. T. Potts, the team principal there, he'll be happy that those two didn't come to grief. 3 retirements so far in this race, as you can see there on the graphic. John-Eric Verne, Kevin Magnussen and Takuma Sato all out of this race. I have to say, Tom, attritionally, this race has been so much better already than the League 2 race, where we had 3 incidents in as many laps.
Yep, and we've not had any incidents so far in this one. We've had a few retirees with Jean-Luc Verne. Before I go back onto that, I just want to see this overtake from Di Silvestro, who's having a brilliant race, actually.
So Di Silvestro, she does have some speed underneath her. She won the non-championship Vancouver Grand Prix at the start of the season. So she's got pace, but when it's actually counted, when points have been on the table, not extracting the most out of that Lola machinery. She's currently running in P12 and doing a fine job at the moment. But I'm sure she wants to be a couple of positions higher than that at least. I'm just trying to check my notes here. I'm sure she's got points on the board this season. And yeah, she scored 10th place at the last race in Chennai, so she's got 1 point to her name so far in Season 2. But given how she actually took victory in Vancouver, it's been quite disappointing for the Lola team, hasn't it, Tom?
It has, and I've just got a feeling that Badoa's out in the 40.
So one of our debutants here today, Luca Badoa, in the 40 course, he has an engine problem for that car. So Badoa, his debut last 23 laps. He pulls off to the side of the circuit in a plume of smoke, and he is our 4th retirement of the race.
So just going back to the battle between, I forgot which battle it was before we switched over. It was Di Silvestro. I think it was Di Silvestro and De La Rosa. De La Rosa's got by Andretti now and up into 13. So Andretti must be thinking about coming into the pits very, very soon. Is he going to try the one stop?
It's possible. We're on lap 24 out of 54. We're not that far away from the half distance mark here. But given that we just had a League 2 race, Tom, it was very evident in that race that 2-stop strategy was the way to go. But Sam Hall and the Manor team electing to go for a 1-stop strategy here and try something different. But it's just not working out, is it? And he's now dropped out of top 15, so I assume he's now into the pits. He's now dropped behind Montero and Albon, so I think Andretti might have just pulled into the pit lane now. We haven't seen any visual confirmation of that. Or was that the train that we saw just there before we cut onto Alguersuari's on board there? I think that might have been Andretti ahead of you there.
I can't quite remember, but just looking at Di Resta's now got ahead of Nissany. Nissany's tyres are just, well, they're just screaming now, aren't they? They're just desperate to be coming off anytime soon as Robin Fines continues to stretch over.
And there goes Andretti into a spin. The tyres have said no more. He's trying to push to a 1-stop strategy here and it's not working. So I think those tyres, they must be at the end of their shelf life now. And all of the drivers that were following him, Tom, I'm sure they must all be smiling to themselves in their helmets. And he carries on for another lap. He's not pitting yet.
Yeah, I wonder if he got hit from behind by another driver. Now, the driver who was behind Andretti was Thiago Montero. Did he nudge the back of Andretti whilst he was trying to get past him?
It wasn't immediately obvious from the camera shots we got as Di Silvestro there. Yeah, a little bit of a lock-up there ahead of Nissany, but she makes a move through into P11. Nissany, his tyres will be screaming as well. He'll need to come into the pits very soon, I should imagine. Lap 26 out of 54. We're almost at the halfway mark. And the 40 Corsi team, they will be calling him in pretty soon, I should imagine. He's down into P12. He scored points on his debut. It's a 5th place finish for the Israeli. A very good start in the Grand Prix World Series. One-stop strategy doesn't really seem like it's the way to go here today.
No, it doesn't seem. I think De La Rosa is going to be passing Nissany anytime soon. This is Simona Di Silvestro we're looking at right now. So we should be cutting away from her to look at Nissany and De La Rosa. But maybe De La Rosa will just wait for another lap to get by the Israeli.
And here is Kamui Kobayashi, P3, on for a good result here today. He won in Taupo earlier on in the season. Points have been a bit harder to come by since then for the Japanese driver, but running a fine P3 at the moment. We're looking at Pedro De La Rosa, who instead of trying to challenge Nissany, is actually under attack from Thiago Monteiro, who in turn is now under attack from Alex Albon. Albon, he had a look down the inside there, but had to back out of it. Pedro De La Rosa, he's trying to get past Roy Nissany and get into clear out, and Thiago Monteiro always trying to capitalise on it, but they're almost tripping up over each other. And it's as you were, they haven't made any overtakes there, but that was very nearly curtains for those 3 drivers there.
Yeah, I wonder if Albon's going to get a move down the inside into the right-hander. And the answer is no on that one, so De La Rosa's got an opportunity to catch back up to Nissany and get the move done. He needs to do that as soon as he can, really.
Now, I've been keeping an eye on the progress of this man here, Stoffel Vandoorne. Now, we've cut away to Pascal Wehrlein now, but Vandoorne now down to 5.4 seconds behind Robin Freins, and he's really making his pressure tyres work here. Vandoorne is on a mission to win this race here today.
Yeah, I can imagine so, and there's a move going on behind. That's the manner of Alex Albon. He's got ahead of Monteiro now, and he almost tried to do another move on De La Rosa. Now we've got a Nissany train, Topher.
I feel as though we should be going to a train station rather than the racetrack, it looks, right? The amount of trains we've had. So Roy Nissany's at the head of this one, then there's De La Rosa, Albon, Monteiro, then Wehrlein, that is Jos Verstappen, I think, that was going down the inside of Scott Dixon. Then we've got Christensen behind him, and then Tatiana Calderon, and there was one more on the back of the train. I'm not quite sure who that was. I think it might be, I don't know actually, I'm trying to see on the camera here. It's a BMS Scuderia Italia of Andre Lotterer. So we've got, what, 10 cars in there, I think, trying to cam our way through, and there's 5 there. Pascal Wehrlein's a 5th car there. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we've got a 10-car train there headed up by Roy Nissany, who's still yet to come into the pits, Tom.
Yeah, I want to be a piston in the end of the summer, as we are now at half race distance. De La Rosa will be looking to get past him very, very soon. He may be able to do it on this back straight, and so that I would cut away from it again. So, but we'll find out on the graphic if he has made up any progress there, De La Rosa. And he has done, yeah. So he's passed Nissany now, and he's got a little bit of clear track ahead of him to make his way up to Di Silvestro in 11th.
And Wehrlein and Monteiro also fighting for 4th position. We can see on the graphic there. Monteiro now gets past Nissany. So Nissany, he's been fighting off the following pack for as long as he can, but now starting to drop away off the cliff and falling behind De La Rosa, Albon and Monteiro. We're riding on board with Andre Lotterer. He's got a really good view of this battle here. We're going 2 wide, doubly through this corner. Calderon up the inside of Christensen. I think that's Jos Verstappen up the inside of Scott Dixon as well. It's all kicking off here on the Nissany Express. Jos Verstappen riding on board with, you can see there that Pascal Wehrlein losing out to, I think that's Scott Dixon going through there. So Dixon's now trying to make his power advantage work here. He's now the one at the second carriage of the Nissany Express here. He'll try and make this move stick as soon as he can. And Jos Verstappen looking down the inside of Pascal Wehrlein there, makes a move through. We've got so much overtaking going on here at the moment. This is absolutely fascinating racing. It's been caused by the one-stopping Nissany, who carries on for yet another lap. He still hasn't come into pit lane, Tom. I just wonder how long he's actually going to try and go on for in this race.
Yeah, and the leaders are coming out to the back mark with Marco Andretti. The gap down to 2.5 seconds now between Freins and Vandoorne. Kobayashi in 3rd place with Nakajima just over a couple of seconds behind him. So could we see one of those two coming onto the podium? Fittipaldi in 5th for BMS Scuderia Italia. That's good for him. And for Alguersuari in 6th place. Clear track ahead of him and no one really close to him. So Alguersuari on course for a really good result here today. He'll be thinking about when to pit in for that second stop and where will that feed him back out in terms of the traffic.
And looking at the gap between Freins and Vandoorne, it's 2.9 seconds at the moment. So Vandoorne losing just a little bit of time there, but he doesn't need to make the move stick anytime soon. He's still got half of the race to go here today. Oh, Hulkenberg having a bit of a moment there. He's got Simona Di Silvestro for company in P10 and P11. Jos Verstappen has got past Roy Nissany for 15th position. So Nissany's falling down the order here. This tyre strategy is not working at all well for the 40 Corsi. They've already got one driver out, Luca Padoa, pulling off with a mechanical issue earlier on, and the other one just going backwards and dropping like a stone. So Roy Nissany, he was one of the stars of the Chennai Grand Prix, finishing 5th place there on his debut. But today in the Kyalami Grand Prix, not happening for him at the moment to be right on board with Tatiana Calderon, who has Andre Lotterer behind her for company. And here's Marco Andretti down into P22. He was ahead of the train earlier on, but now in 22nd position. It's just not working out at the moment for the American. He had a good chance to win the Chennai Grand Prix, actually, if you remember, Tom. He was at the lead of the race for a lot of that before a mistake and a mechanical issue later on paid his chance of victory there.
Yeah, Nissany down to 18th place and still not pitting.
And Nakajima goes past Andretti, puts a lap on the American driver. Riding aboard with Calderon, who's got Tom Christensen right behind her. And they will have Nissany right in front of them, I'm sure. The gap now between Frames and Van Dorn at the front, 1.1 seconds. Van Dorn's been really closing in on the Dutchman there, and it'll only be a matter of time before he makes any sort of overtake.
Do we want to go to the battle for the lead? This is not the battle we want to be looking at. We want to be looking at the battle for the lead. I think it's just behind these back markers, actually, between Van Dorn and Vines. The gap is now down to less than half a second as Calderon gets past Nissany, who's still yet to pit. Goodness gracious me. So Frines is still ahead of Van Dorn, just saw in the background there, so we should be cutting towards them shortly. This is Kobayashi in third, 5 seconds off the race lead. We can see what the gap is now between Kobayashi and
Here we go, Tom. There you can see what the gap actually is between them. We don't need the graphic for this one. Stoffel Van Dorn is right there behind Robin Fraines. He's on fresher tyres. He wants to try and make this move stick as soon as he can. He's right up on the gearbox of the Super Aguri now. It's only going to be a matter of time before Van Dorn makes a move down the inside and goes on to try and take what will be a second victory of the season. Simtek, one of the dominant forces in this championship. As Van Dorn down the inside of Roman Fraines, and all the Dutchman's holding on around the outside, cuts him. Oh, Van Dorn very nearly running off the track there, but he holds on to the Simtek. Fraines not taking anything from Stoffel Van Dorn in this race. He'll want to hold on for this victory if he can. We still have another round of pit stops yet to come for these two, but at the moment Van Dorn clearly with the speed advantage over the Super Aguri. They've got traffic to contend with as well, because there is Roy Nissany, who is now being cleared by everyone in that train, and he's now at the head of the race leaders here. They want to dispatch him as soon as he can. Nissany's not really doing them any favours here. Fraines shaking his fist there at this 40 Corsi. He's now going to make a move down the inside, and Van Dorn's going to want to follow him through here. I think he has done. We're looking at Robin Fraines there, and Van Dorn does indeed. And
one of the AGSs is without a rear wing. I thought I saw some debris earlier on in the lap, Topher, and it looks as though that Pascal Wehrlein had been hit from behind by, I think, by a Minardi.
I spotted the debris as well. I wasn't sure what it was at the time. I was focusing on that fight for the lead, but Wehrlein is into pits, and I think you've called that absolutely right, Tom. Pascal Wehrlein into pits, looking like he is without a rear wing. Here is the battle for the lead again, as Van Dorn again looking up the inside of Robin Fraines, but Fraines defending very well. He's a very hard defender. He will not want to give any quarter to his Belgian friend and rival. There is Thiago Monteiro, P14. He's in a sandwich between Pedro de la Rosa and Scott Dixon here. Dixon starting last in this race, up into P15. He's not a million miles away from points here, Tom, but still got quite a bit of work to do.
And Dixon will be looking to just get as many points as possible, really. And that's Andretti slowing in the manner. What a shame. He's had a really awful race as well.
To me, it seems about the same speed that he was doing earlier on in the train. Anyway, it's a gearbox issue for Andretti there. Marco pulls over to the side of the circuit. He was putting in a lot of defensive work earlier on, but it's nothing for the Andretti side of the Manor Garage. They've still got Alex Albon running in this race in P12. Maybe some points are possible here for the Manor team if Albon can get past Di Silvestro and Hulkenberg. But Marco Andretti, his gearbox is packed in, he's out of the race.
Did he even pit in this race, Topher?
You know what? I don't think he did. I don't remember him coming into the pits. Like, he was going very long on his strategy. And what are the marshals doing here? It looked like they're craning him across the circuit. We've cut away from him now, but it looked like they're trying to take Andretti off the circuit. decided they couldn't drop him there and have taken him to the other side of the circuit instead. But anyway, back to the race battle for the lead here. Frains still ahead of Van Dorn. Van Dorn's now looking down the inside again. Is he going to make a move stick? Yes, he does. Stoffel Van Dorn into the lead of the League One Kyalami Grand Prix.
It was only a matter of time, really, wasn't it? Van Dorn finding more pace than Frains. He just locks up a little bit, actually, into the left-hander, but he's got away with it. Kobayashi looking to get past the Super Aguri now. He'll be all over the back of Frains as we enter the second round of stops.
I hadn't actually noticed Kobayashi coming out to the back of them. I was focusing so much on the battle between Van Dorn and Frains, and Kobayashi just quietly going about his business. He's now putting Frains under pressure for P2 here. So Van Dorn already clearing off. He's 1.1 seconds ahead of Super Aguri, who now has Kobayashi for company. Frains, he wants to be going forwards, not backwards here, but he's under pressure once again. Nakajima's not that far away from this group either. There he is. You can see him there in the background. Riding aboard now with the number 2 of Nick de Vries, making his debut here today. Running P8 at the moment. He's putting in a very strong performance for BAR. He's 4 seconds away from the back of Antonio Felix da Costa in P7. And 1.1 seconds ahead of Paul de Resta there. There is our list of retirements. Werner Magnusson, Sato Padoa, and Andretti, the latest of our drivers to go out of this race. Only 2 drivers not on the lead lap at the moment. So we've had a bit more of like a proper motor race of it here, Tom, in the League 2 race. Antonio Fuoco clearing off into the distance, put laps on so many drivers, and unfortunately he retired near the end. But this time we're having a much closer battle for the race victory between more drivers.
And Van Dorn, well, I say Van Dorn, Frains is holding up Kobayashi now, with Nakajima slowly closing on these guys, so 4 seconds separate the top 4. It's Fittipaldi on his own in 5th place, but can Kobayashi get past Super Aguri as they come into West Bank? The answer is no. So the Yaris driver just sitting in behind as they come through the last part of the lap.
And look, we are riding on board now with Kamui Kobayashi. I absolutely love this camera angle. And this one as well, this is one of our new camera angles that was introduced for the Grand Prix World Series. As Scott Dixon into the pits, that will be for his second scheduled pit stop. He's pitted out of P17. Not make as much progress as he would have liked to. He's now going to the end of the race, as you can see there on the dashboard readout. 23 laps of fuel, that will easily take him to the end of this Grand Prix. Van Dorn now puts a lap on his teammate. So Dixon really affected by the back of the grid penalty that he picked up at the last race. And for those of you who aren't aware what happened, Alex Albon had gone off the circuit and pulled back onto the racing line to stop there, and Dixon not really doing enough to get out of the way as Kobayashi down the inside of Frains into P2. So Robin Frains loses out on another position there. Kobayashi into P2 and on for 18 points in the moment. There is Kobayashi's teammate, Nico Hulkenberg. They're running in P10 at the moment, and he's got a little bit of a train now forming behind him as well. It's now going to be the Hulkenberg Express at this rate. He's got Alex Albon all over the back of him looking to get some points. Now, all bits of a moment of Hulkenberg. That's going to give an opportunity to Alex Albon here. And no, Hulkenberg holds on around the outside. So a bit of a mistake there. But he stays defensive and keeps hold of P10, at least for now.
So Kobayashi will be happy to be in 2nd place now. It's only a matter of time before Nakajima gets his Onyx ahead of Frains. And Di Silvestro's in the pits now. She's looking to be in the realms for points today. And we've still got some way to go yet in this one.
And Van Dorn's into the pits, as is Kazuki Nakajima. So now the front runners are starting to come in for their second round of pit stops. This is going to be very important for Van Dorn as to where he comes out, because he will need to get track position if he's going to go on and claim victory here today. He's in the pound seats at the moment. We are on board with Nakajima at the moment. 21 laps of fuel, he is going to the end, and here is Van Dorn on his way out of the pits. So Fittipaldi is the next driver. He is going through, is he? Not quite. So Van Dorn, just outside of Fittipaldi, is he? No, Fittipaldi's down the inside. And no, Van Dorn's held on around the outside. Brilliant driving there from Van Dorn. We thought he'd lost out there, but Van Dorn, he knew the importance of keeping that position to get track position on the BMS Scuderia, and a brilliant move around the outside there. Brilliant piece of driving there from Van Dorn. Holds on to P3, and he can now use that clear air to get himself into the pound seat to win this Grand Prix.
And Roy Nissan has gone the first 34 laps without pitting, and now he's in the pits.
That's absolutely unbelievable there for Roy Nissani. That is supreme tyre management right there as well. A lot of these drivers going on to a 2-stop strategy. But we saw earlier on, as Scott Dixon down the inside of Frains there, that's just unlapping himself on Frains. At Nissany, going 34 laps. And we had Andretti earlier on, he span on his aging tyres earlier on. Nissany making him work much better. He's on the one-stop strategy and now going to the end of the race. With where he is at the moment, Tom, I'm not sure if that's going to get him up into the top 10, but we do still need to see the second round of pit stops for the rest of the drivers.
So I was just looking at the fuel loads on the cars that are just going on. So 20 laps of fuel. I mean, some of these drivers will end up a lap down by the end of the race. So perhaps that may come to their aid as the race comes to its climax. Kobayashi in the lead, 3.6 seconds now in front of Robin Frains. He's got a back marker of Scott Dixon, who's going to try and unlap himself as he is on fresher tyres than Kobayashi is.
So while Kobayashi leads the Grand Prix at the moment through the pit stop phase, his teammate Hulkenberg coming under pressure from Andre Lotterer at the BMS Scuderia Italia, Jaime Alguersuari into the pits as well. And this is going to be important for him if he's going to score his first points of the season today. Currently showing his P9. We'll need to see where he comes out in relation to Alex Albon.
He'll be ahead of him.
He does indeed come out ahead of him. Scott Dixon now unlapping himself completely, so he passes Kamui Kobayashi. He's now back onto the lead lap of this Grand Prix. He's still got a way to go if he's going to score any points today. He's behind Tom Christensen in P15. And I think Kobayashi just pulling into the pits, and yes he is, our race leader's into the pits. We'll need to wait and see what Frains does. He comes into the pits as well. So Van Dorn will now resume the lead of the Grand Prix and be in with a clear run to the flag.
And what will that mean for Nakajima? Because he pitted in before these guys. He may complete an undercut.
Well, Ed Hunter pointed out earlier on in the YouTube live chat, the undercut is actually quite powerful around the circuit. Nakajima is ahead of Frains in P4. Well, Frains, he'll be on the fresher tyres now. Fittipaldi, he's running in P2, but he's yet to make his second pit stop. Van Dorn now with clear air, with the lead, and he's now the odds-on favourite to win the League 1 Kyalami Grand Prix. There is Pietro Fittipaldi under attack from Kamui Kobayashi, who goes down the inside into P2. Nakajima's right there behind him as well. And also one of the Lolas, I think that's Calderon, who's behind them as well. I'm not sure if she's been lapped or tried to unlap himself. And Van Dorn's in traffic here. He needs to be careful. He gets past the Midland there of Thiago Monteiro. And that is Pascal Wehrlein in front of him as well. He'll need to be sensible and negotiate this traffic without causing himself any issues. And there is Calderon trying to get down the inside of, I think that was...
7 drivers are now in the pits over while you speak. 7 drivers in the pits at the same time. Sorry, carry on.
It's a very busy pit lane at the moment. There's lots of drivers on the same strategy as everyone else. Lotterer is in, Albon is in, Verstappen is in, whoever else is in is also into this. Van Dorn goes through and puts a lap on those drivers who are in the pit lane. We now have 12 drivers who are now on the lead lap. A lot of those. Simona Di Silvestro in the Mascar Lola. Here is Robin Frains, who is in 5th position. He's putting a lap there on someone. I'm not entirely sure who that was, but he's in the slipstream of Pietro Fittipaldi here, who's yet to come in for his second pit stop. So Fittipaldi... has he come in for his second pit stop actually, Tom? I'm trying to remember that we've had so many pit stops going on.
He must have done that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm now thinking, has he actually taken a second pit stop? Because I knew that he was up in the order earlier on as Frains down the inside and goes into P4. I'm actually thinking Fittipaldi might actually be in P5 on merit at the moment.
Yeah, well, he made one stop earlier. I think it may have been one of the earlier ones to pit in, and then...
that got a bit close there between De La Rosa and Kamui Kobayashi. Kobayashi putting a lap on the Spaniards, very nearly touching wheels there, but luckily for both drivers, able to continue without any issue. Here is Nakajima running in P3. He's got Andre Lotterer for company, who is a lap down, and looks like he's trying to unlap himself.
So Scott Dixon now in the points after making that earlier stop in comparison to the others. So he's into a points-paying position is Dixon. Now he's going to be coming up a few other slower cars. So Dixon's not out of the frame of points yet.
Well, running in P10, as you pointed out, Tom, has been a very good drive for Dixon. He wasn't making a lot of progress earlier on in this race, but has made it work through the pit stop phase. He's making the undercut work, and he's now up into P10 as a result. So maybe, just maybe, from the back of the grid, some points could be possible here for the Kiwi. We saw it in the League 2 race. Brendan Harley went from the back of the grid to finish in 7th place at the end of that, so he brought home 6 points for himself and for the Pacific team. So maybe we're going to see it in both races, going from last into points. That'd be an absolutely fantastic result for Scott Dixon. In contention for the title, he's currently 3rd overall in the standings with 2 victories to his name. He's the winningest driver of the season so far, the only driver to have multiple victories to his name. The first of those coming in Adelaide and the second of those last time out in Chennai. Now Jos Verstappen there in P15. He's been in the wars a little bit this race, doing the argy-bargy around all of the cars behind the Nissan Express. But he's kept it clean, he's doing a good job here. He's in P15, not challenging for the points just yet. But up in front of him we have Wehrlein, Montero and Albon. They're all running quite closely together, so maybe any mistakes from those will see Verstappen get up to the back of that battle as well. So, Van Dorn on lap 41 leads the League 1 Kyalami Grand Prix. Oh, De La Rosa pulling off. It's a transmission problem for the Spaniard and a bit of a hit in the barrier there just for good measure as well. De La Rosa becomes what I believe is our 4th retirement in this race, I think it is. 6, sorry. I'm trying to keep track of what's going on here. And Fittipaldi, he comes into pits for what is his 2nd pit stop. So I think I was correct in assuming earlier, Tom, that he had only done the 1 stop. He's in again for a 2nd pit stop.
And Alguersuari's already been in for his 2nd stop, so where will Fittipaldi come back out?
We're waiting for the graphic to update when Fittipaldi comes out of the pit lane. I reckon he's going to be ahead of Alguersuari actually, because Fittipaldi was just behind frames up. Oh no, Fittipaldi actually comes out behind Alguersuari. So he's a bit closer to him than I thought. And what's gone on here? Wehrlein having a bit of a moment, it seems. A huge lock-up there. He's now lost out to Montero and Albon. He's got Verstappen for company now, all over the back of his gearbox. And here's Albon looking to get past Thiago Montero up into P12 if he can find any opportunity to do so. Albon, who's given a 2nd lease of life here in the Grand Prix World Series, sacked by AGS and then brought on board by Manor. He's been given another chance by Sam Hall and the team there. Albon running in P13 at the moment. Points possible, but not a guarantee at this moment in time, Tom.
Yeah, and Alguersuari will be very happy to be in the top 6 by the end of this race. Now, that would put Prost onto 14 points should he finish 6th. And just looking at their rivals, Manor would get... I don't think Manor would get any points from this race, actually, because Andretti's out and Albon's in 13th. And the Lolas are not in the points at all. Neither are 40, so it would be a good haul of points and good ground made up, actually, from Prost as they would move in front of Manor in the team standings, I believe.
And that has a lot more meaning than one would expect, because of course we have the relegation system out of League 1. If any teams finish in the bottom 3 in the constructor standings at the end of the season, they get relegated down to League 2 for season 3. Prost currently 12th and 2nd last of those teams. If they get a good haul of points, as Thomas just pointed out, that will put them above Manor and into 11th place. And a bit closer to the back of 40 Corsi, currently on 25 points, but not on course to score any points here today. Prost with Alguersuari in 5th position, that would be 10 points for them. So they'll put them on to 16, 9 points behind 40 Corsi. We still have I think 9 rounds to go at the end of this race. Still a long way to go in this season, but things are starting to look up a bit for Prost with Alguersuari in 5th place.
He really needed a good performance today, Alguersuari, after being his gigs. Missed both Fuji and Fuji and Yongam is what I was meant to say. But now he's coming on song in this one. He qualified brilliantly inside the top 10, and now he's put himself in 5th place and putting himself in prime position for a good haul of points. And you never know what can happen ahead of him.
I love that little casual pun that you made just there, Tom, about him being off a gig and then coming on song. Absolutely brilliant. I just love how casual that was.
I didn't actually have the pun in my mind. I just said it as it is.
Nothing better than an accidental pun.
I think Farron's got ahead of Nakajima Topher whilst I was talking there.
I think you are correct. We're waiting for the graphic to go back to the leading group. You can see our 6 retirees so far from this race. De La Rosa, Andretti, Padoa, Sato, Magnussen and Verne, the first of our retirements in the League 1 Kyalami Grand Prix. Here is Pascal Wehrlein trying to hold off Nico Hülkenberg, who's got Kamui Kobayashi behind him as well. So 2 arrows running line astern, but one trying to put a lap on the other one. So Hülkenberg, he wants to get past Wehrlein here for 15th place, but at the same time he doesn't want to hold up his teammate. as he now tries to go through there, Kobayashi going past Hulkenberg, and that is, it has to be said, Tom, it's quite a sad sight to see a teammate being lapped like that. I mean, Kobayashi's done a fantastic job in this race, but one thing you don't want to see, especially if you're the boss of that team, is one of your drivers lapping the other.
Well, Kobayashi has picked up 2 points in the last 5 races. So he's got a great chance to add to that total and put himself in championship contention, with Hulkenberg potentially not scoring at all. That's going to most certainly see him lose the lead in the driver standings, but only if Da Costa gets at least 4 points from this race, and at the moment he's on course for 6.
Well, not that I want to jinx anything here, Tom, but if you cast your mind back to the Fuji Grand Prix, Van Dorn was absolutely dominant in that race as well, but then retired, I think it was 5 laps on the end, had a mechanical issue, and I absolutely do not wish for that to happen this time. In Scott Woodward, he's had his fair share of heartbreaking moments, not just in the Grand Prix World Series, but in the Retro Racing Manager League as a whole. And I don't wish any sort of bad luck upon him at all, but what I'm basically saying, Tom, is if it can happen once, it can happen again.
Yeah, it can most certainly so. Just looking at Scott Dixon, who's rattling away with Paul Di Resta for 9th position. Now, if he can get by him, he's only got a few more seconds to make up on 8th place Nick De Vries.
So De Vries, let's talk about him for a moment, shall we? He was brought on board to the BAR team. He's been the reserve driver for the season so far. Tom Butterworth has taken the decision to give him was effectively a test race in some ways. He's evaluating him in a race seat up against Jean-Eric Verne and in comparison to Sebastian Buemi. And 8th place at the moment for the Dutchman. And I'm just going to have a look at how BAR's got on so far. They're currently 7th in the standings at the moment. They picked up a podium in the first race of the season with Sebastian Buemi, but since then they've only had 3 point scoring finishes between them. Buemi finished 9th in Malaysia, Verne finished 5th in Yongam, and Buemi finished 5th in Fuji. So not exactly that much to write home about for the BAR team, but 8th place potentially is going to be their second best finish of the season so far.
Yeah, and De Vries is going to be bagging more crucial points for the BAR team towards the championship itself. It's still very much wide open. Alguersuari is only 7/10 in front of Fittipaldi now, so he's doing well actually, Alguersuari, to defend off Fittipaldi, but it's just a matter of time, I think, before the Brazilian gets by.
A little bit of a lock-up there for Tatiana Calderon down in P20, chasing down Roy Nissany, who today has attempted the one-stop strategy, and it's fairly obvious, Tom, it hasn't worked.
No, and Dixon's ahead of Di Resta.
So Dixon up into P9 now, and his next target, Nick De Vries, the debutant Dutchman in P8, driving for BAR. We are on lap 46 out of 54, as that's Nakajima putting a lap on Pascal Wehrlein there. But Nakajima not really wasting any time. He's in 4th position at the moment and on for a good haul of points here for the Onyx team. Nakajima coming on strong in the last few races and completely outshining his more experienced teammate Takuma Sato. Robin Frains there in P3 was leading earlier on, but not on the best strategy in comparison to Van Dorn and Kobayashi. Down into P3, but I think a podium will still be very welcome for the Super Aguri there.
And just looking at the as it stands for the team's championship, Frains would get 15 points. I can't quite remember who was on pole. It was Van Dorn, wasn't it?
It was Van Dorn, yes.
Yeah, so a look at Fittipaldi down the inside of Alguersuari. Does he do it there? Not quite. Going back to the same, Frains would get 15 points. Da Costa would get 6, so that's 21 points. So Simtek would get 26 points for Van Dorn winning, Dixon getting 2 points for 9th. I don't know who's got the fastest up at the moment, so for the
I think it's Van Dorn, if my memory serves me correctly, so that would be a potential 27 points for Van Dorn at the moment.
In that case, that would be 29 points for the Simtek thing, as Fittipaldi has finally got past Alguersuari.
So Fittipaldi's on the fresher tyres. He took a later pit stop than everyone else, and he's now up into 5th position. He's quite a way off the back of Kazuki Nakajima, 28 seconds the gap there. Montero under attack there from Jos Verstappen down the inside of Budget there and makes the move stick. He's having a look down the inside of Yellow Pages now and doesn't get back into position there. So Montero down into P14, Verstappen up into P13, riding on board with Robin Frains here. And it's, we've got a problem here for Nakajima. Nakajima was on course for a good haul of points here, but he's now got a mechanical issue, putting all of his hard work to bed there. And that's a real shame. We had one Onyx retiring earlier on in the form of Takuma Sato. And now Nakajima not making the end of the race either. That is absolute heartbreak for Ryan Ferris.
That's a really, really bitter blow that for Ryan Ferris and for the Onyx team. Looking on course for a top 4 finish, and now they're not going to be getting any points. And that promotes Simona Di Silvestro up into a points-paying position in 10th.
So there we have official confirmation. Kazuki Nakajima out of the League One Kyalami Grand Prix. Oh, that's such a shame for him. He was on for a very good points finish here. There is Pietro Fittipaldi, who benefits to now move up into P4. Alguersuari into P5. Tom, you must be absolutely loving life at the moment, having Jaime Alguersuari in P5.
And the race is still not done yet.
Very wise words from Tom Cairns there. It's not over until it's over. Many of our team principals will tell you how much of a fact that actually is. Here is your race leader, Stoffel Van Dorn, 11.3 seconds ahead of Kamui Kobayashi as Tom Crittenton trying to make a move there on Pascal Wehrlein. We cut away from that at just the wrong moment. Van Dorn 11.3 ahead of Kamui Kobayashi. Frames holding on to P3 at the moment. Fittipaldi and Alguersuari benefiting from Nakajima's demise to move into 4th and 5th. And Da Costa, 6th place. I'm pretty sure, Tom, if it finishes like this, he will end up taking the lead in the Drivers' Championship, having not won any races so far.
So, same Frines on that one.
Da Costa.
Da Costa, let's have a look. So Da Costa he's gone on course for 8 points now, which would put him on to 69 points. Hulkenberg would stay on 64. Dixon would move on to 57. And looking at Van Dorn, if you're telling me that he would get 27 points with the fastest lap and pole position and race win, that would double his points total to 54.
So it's getting very competitive. We are nearing the halfway mark of this season. This is round 7. After round 8, we will be at the halfway point of the season. Next time out, we will be in Istanbul, and we're very much looking forward to that one. Following the Istanbul Grand Prix, Di Silvestro losing out to Alex Albon. There's Albon's into the points for Mana. Di Silvestro, she was hoping to take another points for her this season. She's got 1 to her name, which was scored at the last race in Chennai. She wanted to double up today, but Albon makes up his way through into P10, putting almost any hopes of that to bed for the Lola driver there. There is Alex Albon up into P10. Started in 25th position today, so Dixon's gone from 26th to 8th with a very strong drive, but Alex Albon, he's also done a very stellar job. 25th to 10th, I think that has to be applauded, surely, Tom?
Yeah, and Dixon from 26th to 8th. You know, that's a phenomenal effort, and he's still a few seconds behind 7th place Nick De Vries, so I just want to see if Dixon can close in on De Vries in the final few laps.
We are on lap 50 out of 54. We are nearing the end of the Kyalami Grand Prix. There is Jaime Alguersuari in P5. He's recently been overtaken by Pietro Fittipaldi, and I think 5th place now is the best that Alguersuari can hope for when we come to the end of this race, but still a very welcome result, not just for himself but for the Prost team as well, as Prost looks to avoid relegation into League 2 for Season 3. Stoffel Van Dorn, we now ride on board with your race leader, looking for his 2nd win of the season, and it will be a 4th win of the season for Simtek and for Scott Woodward. Dixon's already taken 2 victories this season, 1 in Adelaide and 1 last time out in Chennai. Van Dorn, he was dropped by the Simtek team at the end of Season 1 and replaced by Jamie Whincup. Then Scott Woodward took the decision to bring him back on board, and first time out in Yongam, he only went and won it, didn't he, Tom?
He did, and can he do it again here and become the 2nd winner this season?
And Simtek, they have been the absolute dominant force so far this season. Scott Woodward deciding to go a lot on power, somewhat at the sacrifice of reliability, but he's been making it work. He's taken race wins, almost been sort of a win or bust sort of season for him, but through getting the race wins, he's been getting the prize money, and it's been helping him to develop the car. He's got a very fast package, and he's also been doing a bit of reliability here and there along the way. In the last upgrade window, Tom, he put all of it into power, but at the moment, it looks like his reliability is holding out as we are on lap 51 out of 54, and it looks like it's going to be win number 4 of the season for Scott Woodward.
And a very welcome one as well, and they do look in fantastic shape for the rest of the campaign. And given the form they've been in, I think you have to say they are the favourites to win the team's championship and the drivers. Because if they do win this race and get the 8th place finish and the fast second pole position points, that will put them on to 31 points for the race itself, which put them on to 117. Super Aguri would be... Where are they? So they're costing 6, so that's 8 points for me to get 15, so that's 23 points for them. 17 points. So those two would be tied, but with more wins, Simtek would be ahead. And for Arrows, with Kobayashi second, adding the 91 points to the 18, 117 points. So as it stands, we'll have the top 3 teams all on the same number of points.
Oh no we won't, Tom, no we won't, because Kamui Kobayashi has had a suspension failure. It's absolute disaster for the Arrows team. Kobayashi was a handful of laps away from a second place finish. Oh, I mean, Super Guri is my team, and obviously I wish them well, but I don't like to see that. Kamui Kobayashi, he pulls off to the side of the circuit, his suspension has collapsed, and Arrow's demise is Super Guri's gain, because we were set to have 3 teams tied on 117 points, but now with Frames and Acosta both moving up a position each, that's benefiting Super Guri, and they are now going to be at the head of the team's championship. Should it finish this way? But will it finish this way, Tom? I mean, we've just had a retirement there. We've still got 2.5 laps to go. Anything can happen.
I mean, you don't need to tell me that. I mean, we all know that anything can happen. And given what we saw in the League 2 race with Antonio Frucco pulling out, with 4 laps remaining from the league, we've still got another 3 laps that could change everything.
I feel so sorry for Emma Butterworth and her team. It's been a fantastic race for Kobayashi. He's a race winner this season, and he was on course for a well-deserved podium, but it's not to be for the Arrows team. Van Dorn leads, Frain second. Fittipaldi is now on for his debut podium in the Grand Prix World Series. How about that? And Alguersuari fourth, Tom. This has been absolutely spectacular, this race.
These are much-needed points for the Boss team as Frain puts a lap on what looks like, I can't tell if that's Sermona di Silvestre. I think it probably was, you know, but just go. This is the AGS that we're looking at. I can't tell if that's Pascal Wehrlein or...
Well, it must be Pascal Wehrlein, because Kevin Magnussen's already out of this race.
Yeah, so that's Pascal Wehrlein. He's had a wretched race, to be honest with you. He came in for a replacement of rear wing. So it's been another disappointing day for Phil Kinch and for the AGS team. Robin Frien's now in second, 26 points ahead, 26 seconds ahead of Pietro Fittipaldi. And even if he came in for a pit stop, he'd still come out ahead of him, wouldn't he?
Well, we're on the penultimate lap now. I can't see him coming into the pits, except for any sort of reliability issue for Super Guri. Here is Simona Di Silvestro we're riding on board with. Nico Hulkenberg's right behind her. So Di Silvestro earlier on was looking good to pick up a point, and Verstappen's up into P10 actually. That one flew under the radar. He will have benefited from the demise of Kamui Kobayashi. So Verstappen is on for a point here in the Minardi. Di Silvestro under pressure from Nico Hulkenberg, and now the sole remaining Arrows. So Arrows going from scoring 18 points to potentially scoring no points as we head into the final lap here.
The Arrows are on course for a couple of points now for Manor, who most definitely are in need of those points. They are currently on 11 points, so 2 more points will put on to 13, but with Prost's 4th place finish, courtesy of Alguersuari, that puts him on to 18 points and 7 points from safety.
What about this man here, Tom? Pietro Fittipaldi, on for his debut Grand Prix World Series podium. He's had a fantastic race here today, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has, and just seen Hulkenberg getting past Di Silvestro up into 11th place. How far is he behind Verstappen? He's probably not going to have enough time to catch up to him. But Stoffel Van Dorn, who's a lap ahead of him, is about to complete his final lap.
So Stoffel Van Dorn, he's led from the front. He lost out earlier on to Robin Frames, but he got his head down, made the move stick, and he's now on course for his 2nd victory of the season. Coming into the final corner here, it's been a fantastic drive here from the Belgian. No one's gone near him, and Stoffel Van Dorn wins the League 1 Kyalami Grand Prix. It's a 4th win of the season for Simtek. They truly are the dominant force here in the Grand Prix World Series. If they can sort out some better reliability and score points on a more consistent basis, they would have an almighty lead in the team's championship at the moment. Robin Frains benefits from Kobayashi's demise. to finish P2 and pick up some valuable points for himself and for Super Aguri. Further down the road we await Pietro Fittipaldi scoring his first Grand Prix World Series podium. Fittipaldi just making a move there on Tatiana Calderon and putting another lap on her. Here is Fittipaldi through the last corner. It's been a fantastic result here for the Brazilian. Easily his best result of the season so far. And there we go. He crosses the line. It's another podium for BMS Scuderia Italia and a first for Pietro Fittipaldi.
I just want to see Alguersuari crossing over the line in 4th place for Prost. He was 7 seconds in front of Da Costa, but he's finally got over the line now, so Alguersuari bags 12 points for the Prost team today.
And here is Antonio Felix Da Costa, who I believe with that 5th place finish will be our new championship leader. Still hasn't won a race yet this season, has he, Tom? But just consistent point scoring and another strong finish for the Portuguese driver. And championship lead with it. He might end up doing what Joan Mir nearly did in MotoGP last year, in potentially winning the championship without winning any races.
Yeah, well, it's about points really, isn't it? So, you know, if Da Costa can keep on scoring and not retiring, then that would be a great thing to see.
So, your official results. Stoffel Vandoorne wins ahead of Robin Freins. Pietro Fittipaldi, a debut podium for him. Jaime Alguersuari, his best results of the season in P4. Antonio Felix Da Costa, championship leader, P5. Nick de Vries on debut, a very strong 6th place. Some very welcome points there for the BAR team. Scott Dixon, last to P7. What a result there for him. That will help him towards his championship challenge. Paul de Resta in P8, and then Alex Albon, some points for him. And Jos Verstappen pick up the final point in P10. Then Nico Hulkenberg, Simona Di Silvestro, Thiago Montero, Andre Lotterer, Tom Christensen, Pascal Wehrlein, Roy Nissany, and Tatiana Calderon, the last of the finishers. Kobayashi classified even though he didn't finish. Then Nakajima, De La Rosa, Andretti, Bedoya, Sato, Magnussen and Verne. And there is your fastest lap point there, Vandoorne. It is a perfect day there for the Belgian. An absolutely fantastic result there for him, for Scott Woodwis and for the Simtech team. Tom, 2 absolutely fantastic races today. Not necessarily races of attrition, just pure brilliant racing. I thoroughly enjoyed those.
I thoroughly enjoyed it as well, and we've all learned something today about strategy as well. You know how short that pit lane was, and to reiterate my point from earlier, the recently remodded Kyalami circuit that our broadcasters have managed to find, or whoever's in charge of that, it worked brilliantly today. I was really conscious as to whether Kyalami was going to be the circuit for drivers to make decent overtakes on, and today proved that it was a fantastic showing.
So that was Kyalami. Next time out, we head to Turkey and the Istanbul Park circuit. This is an absolute favourite amongst our fans. The famous Turn 8 proved to be an absolute spectacle in the real-life world of Formula 1. Will it be the same in the Grand Prix World Series? You'll have to tune in next week and find out. But for now, thank you very much for tuning in. I'm Topher Smith. Alongside me, Tom Kent. Thank you very much for joining us and see you next time.